All right, having a quorum present, I'll call to order the July 1st meeting of the Historic Landmarks Commission. The first item on the agenda is public comment. Any member of the public may address our commission on any item that is not on our agenda today. Seeing no speaker slips, I'll close public comment and go to approval of the minutes of June 17th, 2015. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mahan, a second by Vena.
Yep.
Under discussion, any additions, corrections, or clarifications, please?
Yeah.
Ms. Murray, please.
Page 2, under D. I was going to raise this issue, why the potential demolition of Franceschi House did not come to our review at the HLC, but maybe we'll do it at the announcement.
I think Mr. Lamone can answer that, and we can do that at announcements because I'll probably want to add something to that as well.
Okay, so the other one is just the addition on the same page under item 1, 1804 Cleveland Avenue. It's just to add that the Grant, we thought we were going to call it the Grant House, Peter Grant House. So just that.
Okay.
And then on page 3, you know where it says in the motion at the top for item 2? It says include the Pulitzer Prize report. Maybe just a word to the fact that it was not the report. It was just the topic of the story that won him the award. Anyway, was something like that. Some wording. The John Birch Society story that got him
include the Pulitzer Prize.
Regarding the John Birch Society.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Good.
Mr. Mahan.
There you go. Perfect.
Anything else?
And then in the motion, same page for item 3, it says provide an appendix with photo identifying maybe non-historical elements of the building instead of, you got that. Okay. Non-historical rather than non-original. Yeah, okay.
I think we're going to do elevation drawings.
Instead of photographs?
Instead of photographs? Oh, good.
I think that'll be much easier. The photographs.
Don't always show the whole, unless you get a drone and
And then we
camera.
have the really good elevations from the last renovations.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Red.
Those are it, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Additions, corrections, or clarifications? None? Then I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. Ms. Kaufman, please.
Item A, 920 Summit Road, final approval as submitted. For item B, 407 East Padre Street, continued 2 weeks to the full board. Item C, 11 Garden Street, project design and final approval with conditions. Item D, 400 State Street, project design and final approval with conditions. Item E, 510 North Milpas Street, project design and final approval with conditions. And item F, 931 Los Alturas Road, project design and final approval as submitted. And all items were reviewed by Commissioner Mahan.
Thank you, Commissioner Mahan, for reviewing the consent calendar. I appreciate that.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
On the D,
Yes.
D, which I want to refer to the
Full board.
I think I'm on.
There's your mute.
Thank you. The description says that there are 2 additions only equaling 56 square feet,
Right.
which sounds insignificant, but they have quite an impact on the house, and it's a very, very special house, and I felt that the full commission should take a look at it.
Okay. So it is on the city's list of historical or
Yeah.
potential historic resources
Yes.
and the contributing structure in the Mission Gardens Potential Historic District. Okay. Great. All right. Then,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as submitted.
thank you.
Second.
I have a motion by Mahan, second by Winnick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next is announcements, requests by applicants for continuances, withdrawals, any future agenda items we need to be aware of, appeals, City Council, Planning Commission, Parks and Rec. Go ahead, Ms. Kaufman.
Commissioners Urias, Lavoy, and Drury will be absent from today's meeting, and Nicole Hernandez has an announcement about the Franceschi House.
Ms. Hernandez.
Actually, Jaime Lamone is going to talk about it.
Actually, Chair Suding has it.
Like, we'll just pass it.
Well, I just thought that this commission should hear staff's perspective about what happened with Franceschi Park and why that report came to City Council, Franceschi House. The initial review that was routed to planning was to determine or to get a planning staff's input to verify that the history and surrounding that preservation of that home was accurate. The way staff viewed the proposed report was to get a status update to council and for them to give direction to the city parks manager as to how to proceed. It was clearly understood that as I read the history, that This commission had been on record to approve the master plan which guided the preservation of the structure as your position on the matter. So it was not, I believe, necessary to come here and say, do you want to preserve the structure? It's a structure of merit. So the question was more of a financial decision. Do you want the city to spend some money to pursue other options to honor Dr. Franceschi and to pursue that option, knowing that those alternatives still needed to come before this commission for consideration? So you could still act on a project, either whether it was demolition, preservation. So we did not feel it was necessary to step in between the time that decision or that discussion would take place. Now, thankfully, I think council didn't just rush to make that decision on demolition, but they did ask staff to come back with alternatives. So essentially saying the cost and alternatives to either have the city shore up the property, what the city would have to do to protect at least the property, and then what the actual cost for the project would be just to do the house preservation aspect. But I think also is like, what else could the city do to honor Dr. Franceschi if it involved the cost of demolition also and a different project? And that would come to you also with the understanding of what your position would be on the matter. So council will hear your input. So I wanted to make sure. And I think if staff failed to do so, we didn't forward you the report in advance. And that's typically what we do. But since it wasn't generated from planning, our admin staff wasn't aware of it. We usually have that be an automatic step. And I happened to be off vacation, and I didn't tell Nicole to do that, so I apologize for that.
We'll forgive you.
And, that's a standard thing that I think we're going to integrate, so Amber's aware if we have things that are pending before council that you're aware of.
That would be helpful. May I add to it?
Sure.
Council also gave a timeline to it, and it's a 6-month timeline, and basically that timeline falls on Parks and Recreation as well as the Pearl Chase Society. The Pearl Chase Society is very involved in the plan to preserve it, and we've seen the plans that they've had, and we approved those 2 years ago, I think it was, maybe a year ago. So now the ball is in Parks and Rec Commission's, Parks and Rec Director, and Pearl Chase Society, and they have been working very well together all these years. So hopefully we can come up with something that will benefit the community as a whole.
If I could add two things, I think one of the things that why it was sort of a short circuit is Nancy Rapp did announce her retirement, and she wanted to sort of clean up the pieces regarding the funding issues that have been created as trying with these efforts to restore the project. So I think that was the sense of urgency to try to get it to council so they can get some future direction.
It was a long discussion. I wasn't there, but I did view it, and there was some misinformation, there was some good information, but all in all, I'm very glad Councilmember Hart made the motion to postpone the decision for 6 months, and I think that was wise, mainly because we don't know what it's going to cost to demolish it.
Yeah.
It could cost $1 million to demolish it.
Yeah.
Whereas
Again, I'll make sure they stop in with you before they come forward
please.
with a proposal.
Please, it is a historic resource. Mr. DeForest, 30 seconds.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out that the public, members of the Pearl Chase Society, were aghast that the HLC had not been, it was apparent that or at least in the reportage, that the HLC had not been consulted, and they were not mentioned in the report, so we were concerned.
Thank you. And I do want to point out, too, that I had a conversation with Ms. Lowenthal, the president of Pearl Chase Society, and she said, in her letter, she said that Pearl Chase Society does not condone or does not go along with the demolition of the structure. So Pearl Chase is very adamant about that. All right. Any other announcements?
Thank you very much.
Just one, I want to thank Ms. Flemings for labeling all of the items and informational material that we get in our agenda. It's very, very helpful. I know that it was started by Ms. Feliciano, and I mentioned to you last meeting that I would like you to continue that. I'm glad to see that you are. Please continue to do that. It's very helpful. I think other commissioners would agree that when they get their packages, to have these things itemized and labeled, it makes it so much faster and efficient. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Feliciano, wherever you, well, I know where you are, but. Subcommittee reports. Any subcommittee meetings the past 2 weeks? Commissioner Schallenberger?
Yes, last Wednesday we met for the city wayfinding signage meeting, and the group that is handling the Hunt Design out of Pasadena, just brought a revised package that was essentially the same as what we had seen before, except we narrowed down a few themes: the citywide theme, the El Pueblo Viejo specific theme, and then the waterfront theme. And it's all.
They got a handle on it.
Yeah, it looks very nice. And I think the next step they'll be presenting to this commission.
That was going to be a question. Do they come? They come to the commission?
They'll come here, I
HL
think
or ABR,
and city council. I think eventually, yeah. But the next step, we'll see the design next.
Great, great, and thank you very much for your time on that subcommittee. It's important. Anybody else? Commissioner Murray?
We had the designation subcommittee meeting this afternoon at 1 o'clock also. And we were just having prioritize a list of the next batch of landmarks designation or structure of merit designation. So working with Nicole, who is just flying away with all these great designations. We're really pleased about that. So we are going to, next meeting, we're going to check our list again and reprioritize all the special buildings.
I was going to ask you if you have as many exciting and great ones on this
yeah,
time as you have had in the past. Good, good. No, because there have been important ones that have been added to the list, and that's
and
invaluable.
Bill, you may say
I just wanted to also add that Nicole and you are going to be meeting with the news press people next week.
Right.
For possible designation
July
of the news
9.
press building.
Oh, good.
I can't make that meeting because I'll be out of town.
Okay. Where are you going?
I'm going back to Iowa to visit the Department of Architecture at Iowa State.
Oh,
Meet the dean.
wonderful. Good.
I have one more.
Okay.
So
Commissioner Ennis?
the designation, not the designation subcommittee, the guidelines, the historic resources guidelines, has been, the last final draft was reviewed by staff, and we're taking those edits and finishing them this week. And they're going to be released. We're going to send them to Post Hazeltine, Alex Cole, other historic societies and neighborhoods for review, and have one more public input meeting on them. Okay. And then they will be coming to you. Okay. So we're trying to move. And the subcommittee, the guideline subcommittee has read that final. Right. They've had it as well.
Commissioner Murray?
I have one more thing to say regarding this great work going on with the design guidelines. We really need the ordinance work. This is, it's been in the desk of the attorney, and they keep saying it's going to be done, and I just afraid that it's going to be put in the back burner, and all the work are coming together. The historic resources element has been done how many years now, and we still do not have an ordinance. It really ties the hands of other work that has to be moved forward, like even the designations of historic districts cannot happen. Anyway, so I just want to keep that on the table and on the front burner with the attorney. I know he has a lot of work, but I think if we keep it alive, good work are not going to be put aside.
Mr. Lamone, is there anything that other than what we've done or what this ordinance committee, the subcommittee on the ordinance has done? Is there anything that we can do to help the city attorney codify this and make this happen sooner rather than later?
Yes.
Any pressure we can put on him?
Letters to your council members.
I believe that there are two opportunities every year where we set our work priorities. We have a joint planning commission and city council meeting. We had one in March before Betty left, and we emphasized that we wanted that ordinance drafted, and it was given some sense of priority. However, at that same time, the city attorney pointed out that they are mandated to respond to specific ordinances that are required to be adopted by specific dates. And I know for a fact that they're dealing with the solar systems ordinance that the state adopted that mandates that they prioritize and expedite. And he's drafting that right now. We're reviewing that. And he's also working on a wireless ordinance for wireless telecommunication facilities. So he has been working on these, and these are required to be adopted this year.
This year.
And I've been assured that this will follow, the structures ordinance will follow. So
I was going to ask if he's obviously he's prioritizing,
Right.
and that's appropriate. And if
I just wanted to mention that the next meeting is September, where the commission is chairs are invited to that workload meeting. If it's not been worked on, I would suggest you again emphasize that you're still waiting for it.
Do we know where we are on the prioritization list?
Well,
I guess we're after the wireless and the solar.
I suggested that they hire an additional contract attorney to try to, they need more staff to do the ordinances, and again, that's their decision. City attorneys to how they deal with them.
Thank you.
Workload.
All right, thank you very
Then
much.
we'll go on to the first item on the agenda, which is an archaeology report for 554 Allen Road. This is review of a Phase 1 archaeological resources report prepared by David Stone at Dudek. Miss Kaufman.
Dr. Glashow has reviewed the archaeological report pertaining to the above-mentioned property. He concluded that the archaeological investigation supports the report's conclusions and recommendations.
Okay. Somebody want to make a motion to approve the report?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mahan, a second by Schallenberger. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Pictures. Judy Arias will be very happy with the good pictures in this report.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I think, photographs showing, obviously, it's an archaeology report, and I understand that we are dealing with the soil and the
really
ground.
good.
But it is helpful to have the structures sort of thrown in there, too. It gives context. So thank you, Mr. Stone, for doing that, and thank you, Commissioner Arias, for mentioning that in the first place. All right, next item. Did we vote?
We did.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All in
favor?
All
I
in
think I heard
favor?
one
Aye.
Aye.
Is there one
Okay.
abstention?
I don't think there was any
Okay,
abstentions.
good. There you go.
You got it? Okay.
Done.
Item 2, archaeology report for 1308 North Salsapuedes Street.
Really good.
This is review of Phase 1 archaeological resource report and memorandum prepared by Heather McFarland. Ms. Kaufman.
Dr. Glashow has reviewed the archaeological report pertaining to the above-mentioned property. He concluded that the archaeological investigation supports the report's conclusions and recommendations. Specifically, he agreed that monitoring by a qualified archaeologist of earth-disturbing activities should be undertaken given the possibility that historical cultural resources may be present. However, he also agreed that the chances of cultural resources being present are remote.
Are what?
Are remote.
Are remote. Barbara Shelton, environmental analyst, requested that the memorandum be prepared so that the report satisfies the city's master environmental assessment requirements.
Okay. Any discussion on this? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve,
Second.
accept the report as amended.
Okay. I have a motion by Schallenberger, a second by Mahan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Motion carries. There
Thank
go.
you for a
Thank you.
wonderful report.
It looks like it's going to be a good project.
Very nice project.
All right. Next item on the agenda then is a miscellaneous action item for resolution of intention. It's item number 3 for 809 West Pedregosa Street. The commission is requested to adopt a resolution of intention to hold a public hearing on July 29th, 2015 to consider designating the circa 1915 Craftsman bungalow-style house located at 809 West Pedregosa Street as a, you need to fix that description, as a City of Santa Barbara structure of merit. Do we have the overhead?
That is charming.
Oh, how did I get that right on there? All right. Ms. Hernandez.
Thank you, Chair Seating and Commissioners. This is Mills Act season, and this is one of the projects coming in for a Mills Act and needs to be designated. So you'll see it on the 29th of July with all of the staff report as well as their Mills Act contract proposal. And they have it's amazing how intact it is. It's just stunning.
Wow.
Very nice.
You'll see more. I'll give you the full slideshow when we do the hearing.
Okay. All right. Anything else to add? That's it?
Yes.
Okay. I will open public comment. I see no speaker slips, so I'll close public comment, bring it to the commission. Is there any discussion on this item?
Could I make just a quick comment?
Okay. You need to hand in your slip on time.
I didn't know what it looked like. I just wanted to ask, excuse me. Killam DeForest, I wanted to ask whether this was the original color.
I do not know. We'd have to do a paint analysis to find the original color. There's not much historic documentation in the way of photographs of it.
Okay. All right, then I'll close public comment. No discussion. I'm looking for a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the board's intention to hold an initial public hearing for this item, 809 West Petagosa Street, as a historic
I
structure.
have a motion by Winnick, a second by Murray. Under discussion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right, Mr. Hernandez, this is for you. Next item on the agenda is item number 4. This is a miscellaneous action. Whoa.
Bigger one.
Yeah, miscellaneous action item for an addition for adding this residence to the potential historic resource list. This is item 4. This is 212 West Valerio Street. Recommendation to consider adding the circa 1905 two-story craftsman-style house to the city's list of potential historic resources, as the front-facing elevation retains all of its character-defining features, and it was found eligible as a structure of merit. Ms. Hernandez.
Yes, this one is also a Mills Act project, but they are wanting to get project design review as well today. So the only way we can get it under your jurisdiction is to add it to the potentials list. And we're also going to do a reserve intent to designate it as a structure of merit and review their project. So you'll see a lot of it in the next today. But it's a beautifully intact resource and a craftsman, and I was really excited. I saw it for sale, and when it was for sale, and I was excited when they came in and wanted to restore it and do a great Mills Act project with it. I told them I'm helping him live my dream because I want to live there.
And that's the rear elevation?
No, that's just from the other side of the street.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, it is.
Very nice.
So
when you mention the front elevation as being wholly intact, what's going on with the side elevations and the rear?
I haven't. All the side elevation is still intact as well. The pergola, I think, might be original because those were pretty common on those two-story craftsman's. There was one. They might have enclosed part of the porch, but I think they might be proposing to take that enclosure down and put it back to the original configuration. We'll look at that when we look at their proposal.
Right.
But I haven't seen anything on there that looks really any additions or alterations that look awkward or would make it uneligible.
Okay. All right, I will open public comment. I have no speaker slips, so I'll close public comment and bring it to the commission for discussion. Are there any questions or comments? Please, anybody?
Sure.
Commissioner Schomburg?
It seems certainly worthy, so I would move that we add this 212 West Valerio to the city's list of potential historic resources.
Okay, we have a motion by Schallenberger, second by Mahan. Under discussion, any discussion? No? Thank you for the owner for pursuing this. That's very important to the city of Santa Barbara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Why
Okay.
are you abstaining?
Next item on the agenda is item 5. This is a miscellaneous.
You do 3.
It's the same item.
Yes, it is, but it's a different.
It's a different
action.
resolution. It's a resolution instead.
Oh, we've done the resolution.
No.
It's confusing, I know.
We just did the addition of this to the potential historic resources list. Now we're doing the resolution of intention to add it to the city structure, Santa Barbara structure, City of Santa Barbara structure of merit.
Oh, okay, I'm
And
sorry.
so we're going from potential to,
Got it.
is that correct?
Yes, because they want to get designated so they can qualify.
Yeah,
But we had to get them in our jurisdiction first. This is what I think about in the middle of the night. This is how I got them. I was like, I know how to get them through
And
review.
hold on, everybody. There's another item after it, which is the same item. So just hold on to your seats here. All right. So this is item 5. This is a miscellaneous action item for resolution of intention for 212 West Valerio Street. The commission is requested to adopt a resolution of intention to hold a public hearing on July 29th, 2015 to consider designating the circa 1905 two-story craftsman-style house located at 212 West Valerio Street as, you need to add that word, as a City of Santa Barbara structure of merit. All right, Ms. Hernandez.
As you stated, this does qualify to be a structure of merit, and we propose to have the hearing on the 29th, and I recommend you adopt the resolution.
Okay. I will open public comment. I have no speaker slips, so I'll close public comment and bring it to the commission for discussion. Are there any questions or comments? Anybody? Or somebody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, to designate 212 West Valerio Street as a City of Santa Barbara structure of merit.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Intention to hold. I'm sorry. I thought we were moving faster. With the intention to hold a public hearing to designate it as a structure of merit on July 29th.
Very good.
Sorry, I was getting excited.
That's okay.
Second.
All right. We have a motion by Winnick, a second by Murray. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Boy, how efficient this commission is when it's down by 3 people. When we're at 6.
Given the next item,
these are the best
it
stuff.
does feel like it should have already become a structure of merit if we're able to make a concept review with action with sufficient information present. So we're actually able to do that?
Well, because it's on the potentials list.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's why we added it to the potentials list. That was my trick.
No, you just love it.
See how clever she is?
It is. Otherwise, he would have had to wait till the
I think
29th.
we should send her over to Greece.
Well, and Puerto Rico, too. Puerto Rico's just as bad as just not getting the press.
Stop off on Puerto
You're
Rico.
right. You're absolutely right. All right. So the next item on the agenda is item 6. It's concept review for 212 West Valerio Street. This is a proposal for a 42 square foot addition to the rear of an existing 2,186 square foot single family residence. A new 117 square foot trellised rear porch, new wooden windows and doors on the rear and west side elevations. The total of 2,603 square feet of development on a 10,878 square foot lot is 68% of the maximum guideline floor to lot area ratio, the FAR. This craftsman style residence is a potential structure of merit. Well, now it is.
It's official.
Do you have the pointer, please? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Chair Suding.
So yes, Ms. Hernandez, you have something to...
I did want to just put in the record that I did send you all a memorandum that why I felt it met all the guidelines for a small addition and did not trigger a structures report.
You did?
I did.
Yeah, you did. Did you read it?
Well, obviously not, because I haven't seen it. Item... No?
It looks like this, and it has 1 to 5.
Thank you. You didn't put an item number, and I mislabeled it.
As you know, when sometimes there's smaller additions that are minimally visible on the rear, I'll do the staff ones so they don't have it. But, you always have the option to pull a full structures report if you feel that it's necessary.
All right, please introduce yourselves for the record and give us a brief presentation. Sure.
Hi, Commission members. I'm Adam Sharkey.
I'm Jill Sharkey.
Welcome.
We're the owners. I'm an architect as well at Blackbird Architects. So this is our home. We are interested in making some small alterations to the exterior in the back to make the kitchen and back bedroom a bit more livable. The lot
Denied. No, just
the lot, you can see, it's a really cool, interesting craftsman structure. We're not proposing any changes to the front three sides. You can see these sort of from the sides on the street and the street front. It does have this sort of odd glass enclosure. It's sort of a sunroom, but it's a very small sunroom, and we haven't figured out exactly whether we would use it well or not, but I think if we wanted to take that later down, we could talk to Nicole or other and open it back up. It seems like it maybe was added after. Existing house configuration with focus on the kind of back of the lot here. So this is the existing kitchen. This is a laundry area that I believe at some point in the past looked like it was an exterior porch or stoop, because there's lockable doors into the bath and kitchen. So to get outside, you have to go through the laundry room and then out to this sort of odd small stoop that I believe was added later as well, and come down. And then up above, there's a balcony that sits on top of the kind of inset laundry area and has then this hip roof that runs around it. It has a lot of dry rot, and the bedroom that it comes off of has no closet. And it's a small door, because generally speaking, the house is a hip roof configuration, 3 main dormers, and then no dormer in the back, so it comes down to a very low roof that you exit out through. So that's this sort of mini balcony. So the idea is to open up, convert the laundry area into a breakfast nook. It has nice glass in its general configuration. They don't match the rest of the windows in the house, so we would want to have. I can use that pointer.
Yeah, is that right here?
Yeah, that's right here. So these were sort of added on. It looks like they don't match the panes. They're not divided lights, but it's an odd, glassy room to have a laundry in. So it seems like it would be a good breakfast nook, opening it up to the kitchen, and then instead of having a door out to a stoop here, have the door from the kitchen and have a little bit larger back deck and steps down. The main back outdoor area is right out here. That laundry would then move up. The upstairs has a bedroom with a sitting room off of it that would function better for us as a upstairs bathroom. So laundry would go up into the master bath. It wouldn't alter. This has a window in it already. It would stay as is, so there'd be no changes to the exterior there. And then upstairs, in place of where that balcony had been, I think the roof may need to get reframed just due to some dry rot and balcony issues, but it would get reframed in the same hip configuration, and then having a closet that would be instead of the balcony. So it would, so you get kind of a centered hip dormer on the back side that kind of would match then the other sides of the house. So this would be then the door out to this trellis that would go over it would match the side that I think you guys were seeing that was here. This has a 4x6 members on the trellis, and that's pretty much it.
What question, just while you're here, what are these depicting there?
So these are matching. This would be the type of window that's on the side of the house. These are the really nice windows around the front. They're divided light. The goal for the breakfast nook in here would be to get good open air. So the thought is to have these as a large swing-out casement. So it would be a full divided light, but it would be able to swing out and pin to the post, so it wouldn't flap around in the breeze.
And so that's the rear elevation as it exists now.
Correct. Yep.
You didn't really see that. And so that's really the only change. I mean, that's the only elevation that's being changed.
That's right. Yep. It's really just the inset area. We would also add a window here to match the window on the other side. So that bedroom, it only has one window right now. So over on that side, it would be
right here.
That's right.
Okay. All right. That concludes your presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Then I will open public comment. I have one speaker slip, and that is from Kellum DeForest. Mr. DeForest, you have 1 minute.
Yes.
2 minutes, I'm sorry.
Right, 2 minutes, thank you. I am wondering whether a historic structures report, I know probably budgetary restrictions are excuse me, are at play, but it would help, a structural report would help document when and what additions or changes were made. And I presume, and also may document whether the additions and changes asked for would, or how they affect the historic nature of the house.
Thank you, Mr. DeForest. I'll close public comment, bring it to the commission for questions. Does anybody have any questions? Mr. Schallenberger?
Just on these hinged windows, I'm curious how the detailing of that's going to work. In other words, are you going to see hardware like a piano hinge, or was it pivot hinges, or how does this work?
I think they would be. Sure. Thanks for the question. December. I think there would be inset hinges on the one side. You would see like the main doors and things where you would see 3 hinges along the length, and then it would just swing out and back in, and it would act like there are some casement windows, the smaller windows in the kitchen and around our casement style that have that, so we would match that. So you would have it would be an outswing casement.
Any other questions? I have a question. Actually, I forgot. I wanted Ms. Hernandez to respond to Mr. DeForest's question about the historic structures report, please.
Yes, when we have very small, minor additions, usually not visible from the public right-of-way, that I feel easily meet the Secretary of Interior standards and guidelines, I do a staff evaluation that goes through that it meets all a certain amount of criteria. It's just because the structures reports are expensive and take a long amount of time, and we like to do those for the really big projects that are publicly visible, going to need mods, going to need planning commission, that way, being a designated historic resource, it doesn't seem like a punishment as much as we're trying to help you get through and do a great project.
Not a punishment, a hurdle.
So it's something Jaime and I have been doing together for about 2 years now, I think.
I think that's most efficient.
And they are posted online under staff reports.
Yeah, everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I have no problem with that.
A question. On the rear elevation, the closet that you're enclosing in, the balcony that you're enclosing in is a closet here. Is there a reason you're not extending the eave or the overhang beyond the wall at the same distance or close to the same distance as what is existing? The reason that came up in my mind is because all of the other windows are sort of tucked up under the eave when you look at it on a full elevation, and this window is sort of not. And then so I'm asking, why is the overhang not the same? Is that so that it's different and it looks like an addition, or what's your answer to that?
No, we've looked at that a little bit. We could do it that way. It seemed like the addition, the dormer side that pops out is small and it's not full height either. So the larger roof seemed like too big of a hat on top of it for the scale of it. The other ones, I believe, come out 2 feet 8 inches.
Right here.
The typical, right? And so we came out, I think, 20 inches is what that's drawn at. We could extend that if that were desired. When we did it at the full, around the side, those 2 that are tucked up fully under is in part because that roof line is so low in the room. The break of the roof starts coming up below shoulder height. Around the side where the dormers pop up, you can kind of see. You can see the edge of it right here, where the dormer pops up, and therefore the second floor gets a full height wall. You see the tops of windows. So it's really because this low roof cuts down around, and so head height is you can't stand over in the corner in the back of the bedrooms.
Okay. I don't know. Does anybody else feel like?
No, I do. I mean, I actually.
What's your feeling?
Well, I was going to ask maybe it might even make sense not to have a roof on it. I mean, a flat roof, obviously, but there's something, that one element is the back of the building, so I was going to keep quiet, but it's on the back of the building. It looks a little bit like a little rocket sticking out of the building compared to everything else. So it has kind of a vertical expression, and I think what you were responding to, Phil, is why doesn't it have a horizontal expression?
Maybe, yeah.
So I think extending the eaves makes sense. It will also bring the roof appearance down farther, so it'll then be more horizontal. And I'm going to throw in one other thing. Maybe it's not compatible with closet, but what if you had 2 windows instead of 1?
Right.
So I think it's the single window in the center that's highlighting this vertical sense again, which doesn't seem consistent with the rest of the house.
It's kind of the size of the window as well, I think.
Yeah.
You have a nice small window there, maybe 2 of them up there or something. But you pinned it down what my consternation was about that, and it appears more vertical than it does the rest of the house. And sometimes that's okay because it distinguishes that addition from the old. But it's not really an addition. It's almost just a fill-in,
Right.
so to speak.
Yeah.
It's almost like glazing the porch, like what possibly happened in the front. So that's why I'm feeling like that needs to comply or be a little bit more compatible with the rest of the architecture.
Yeah, we definitely don't want it to look like an addition, so we're fine with that. We had tried 2 windows on the sides, and it looked a little funny, but we're
maybe bringing the eave down and those 2 windows. Try that, and we're not saying that it has to have the 2 windows, but I think the point is that Commissioner Winnick made is that it needs, I think, to read more horizontal than it does vertical, and whatever way you accomplish that, we will gladly review. So I don't want to dictate to you what to do exactly on that. Any other comments, questions? Okay, Commissioner Schallenberger.
Yeah, kind of back to the window thing, the hinging. I think you have to really pay attention to that detail, especially the one on the north elevation with that 135-degree swing to get by the jamb. I guess my concern is I don't want to see the window, I wouldn't want to see the window come flush with the outside.
Right.
It needs to stay in the recess that you can see in your photo number 4. Yeah, you can see that it's pushed in, and I'm sure it can be accomplished in one way, but it may be a custom, sort of more expensive window. The other ones, I think, because of the swing only being about 95 degrees or so, that you should still be able to accomplish getting by the jamb.
Right.
So I was
I
concerned
think
about that.
that's a very astute observation, because you don't really want it flush with the...
And then the other thing was, I see you have a pretty sizable chase for this kitchen exhaust, and then the chimney itself for the... It looks a little large. Does it really need to be that diameter for just a range hood? Is that what you're thinking?
It's a range hood, right? So that's
Where are we talking about?
here that comes up through.
And on the elevation, you can see.
Right.
It looks like a chimney. But
It looks like a chimney.
Yeah, it looks like a chimney. It's actually just a small, the size, it's about a 900 CFM is what they recommend. It shows to be a 10-inch diameter.
Well, I think that the only reason I brought it up is it may affect your window layout, having to have that box in on the inside. So I don't know if that can be reduced at all, or recessed into the framing somehow. Maybe notch the frame. I don't know. Some way to get your windows where you want them.
Yeah, you'd probably still want your windows far enough away from the corner that chase probably would not interfere too much. But in any case,
no. In fact, I'm imagining. I mean, your precedent is that the windows are clustered. I think when I was thinking 2 windows, it's 2 windows close together with
right,
clustered like that. Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Otherwise, it's very nice. I really think you're very, very sensitive to the resource.
One other comment I wanted to make was that with the trellis structure, I wouldn't necessarily duplicate in every extent of detail that the side trellis is. I think typically, correct me if I'm wrong, but typically the back sort of utility deck or utility trellis would be much more simplified and stripped. So I think we can pull you away from sort of the high detail that's on the trellis on the side. I believe I'm pointing to the right side.
Yeah, that's the right side.
And make this, I think, a little bit more utilitarian, a little bit more stripped, if you will.
The side trellis actually is quite simple. We could pare down on the size of members. They're 8x8 columns, an 8x8 beam, and then 4x6 with no articulation of edges. It's all squared. But that's
it's something to think about. That might even save you a little bit of money.
Yeah.
You
You've
know,
got a 6x6s or others if the scale
yeah.
can step down.
And then the last comment I wanted to make is carefully consider not removing the glazing on that sunroom, because I think that really, even though it may not have been original, that was something that developed out of a need. And I know a lot of craftsman homes that have that sunroom, and it's almost become vernacular for a craftsman to have that. So when you are there, consider it carefully, because it may not be the best thing to take it off. And I'm sure you could find something fun to do in that sunroom. Grow some plants and legal plants.
Really?
Really?
We're being energy conscious. That's why we're using legal plants.
I'm always thinking.
Always thinking of plants.
Okay.
All right. What is the pleasure of the commission?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move this project forward with
Project
design approval. Exactly, just to come back at consent for some of the comments that were made. I guess I'd like to ask how long you'd like this continued. Would you like to come back in 2 weeks? Would you like to come
Indefinite.
back, or indefinite?
We're away in 2 weeks, so probably the next following one.
Okay.
Where are you guys going?
Italy, actually.
Oh,
but,
fun.
Yeah, so we'll be soaking in some other historic research.
Nice.
Okay, so we had a motion.
So it'll be indefinite, but you can work with staff to schedule it in a month's time. For project design approval with comments to be considered and to be reviewed on consent.
Perfect.
Yeah. I also,
Motion by, go ahead.
I also.
Actually, you know what? Let me get the motion done and then under discussion.
Yeah, right.
So motion was made by Winnick, seconded by Schallenberger. Under discussion, Commissioner Murray.
No, I just want to. This is a comment that this is the report that Nicole made, and it met all the guidelines, and it was a very good report.
I'm happy to add that to the motion, that we find having our historian's review of the project sufficient, and that a historic structures report's not required.
That's good.
Okay, second.
Right. Seconder is okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. Motion carries. You understand your motion?
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You understand your motion?
Yes.
Okay. Have fun in Italy.
And it's appealable within 10 days, right? Isn't it?
A project design approval? Yes, thank you. This decision is appealable to City Council within 10 days of today's date. Okay, I'm going to suggest a 5-minute recess. The next item will be item 7, 624 Anacapa Street. So if that item wants to come forward and get set up, that would be appreciated.
We're right on.
Folks, here's a story about Minnie the Moocher. She was a red-hot hoochie coocher. She was the roughest, toughest frail, but Minnie had a heart as big as a whale. Hide, 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 hide. Hide, 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 hide. Whoa, whoa. She loved him, though he was cocky. He took her down to Chinatown, and he showed her how to kick the gong around. Hide, 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 hide. She had a dream about the King of Sweden. He gave her things that she was needing. He gave her a home built of gold and steel, a diamond car with the platinum wheels. Howdy, 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 howdy. 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 Skippy, bindy, go, bubbly, give me, bindy, bubbly, what? Burringy, 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 high. Burringy, burringy, burringy. He gave her his townhouse and his racing horses. Each meal she ate was a dozen courses. She had $1 million worth of nickels and dimes. She sat around and counted them all 1,000,000 times. Hide, 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 hide. Hide, 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 hide. Whoa.
the Historic Landmarks Commission meeting of July 1st, 2015. Next item on the agenda is item number 7. It is for 624 Anacapa Street. It's a new item. This is concept review. This is a proposal to demolish 2 existing commercial buildings totaling 5,520 square feet and an existing 1,850 square foot single-family residential unit and detached garage to construct a new 3-story mixed-use building on 2 lots, 630 and 634 Anacapa Street, totaling 20,825 square feet. The new project consists of 6,022 square foot of ground level commercial space and 25,221 square feet of residential space on the 2nd and 3rd level. Residential space is comprised of 10 studios, 5 one-bedroom units, and 15 two-bedroom units for a total of 30 units. A parking garage access from Ortega Street will provide 32 parking spaces. This is an average unit density incentive program priority housing project with a proposed density of 63 dwelling units per acre, DUAC, and an average unit size of 782 square feet. Planning Commission conceptual review is required. This is conceptual review. Comments only. The project requires environmental assessment and Planning Commission conceptual review. Mr. Cornell.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kathy. Ms. Kennedy,
Mr.
please.
Chair, just a couple of comments about the project. Because it is an AUD project, like you said, it's in the priority housing overlay area, and it's also on a lot greater than 15,000 square feet. That requires the PRT review and the Planning Commission concept review that you're aware of. So this project will go through that whole process. Right now, it's just concept review level. We're expecting a PRT application at some point in the near future, I expect. And so staff, LDT team will be reviewing the project before it comes back to you again.
Okay.
Based on the lot area, 30 units is the maximum allowed number of units, so they are meeting that. They're a little bit under the average unit size, just by a few square feet. The maximum average is 811 square feet, so they're at 782.
What did you say maximum what?
811 would be the maximum average. They meet the parking requirements for AUD of 1 per unit. And also there was a historic structures report prepared back in '06 that was accepted by the commission, stating that the existing building was not a historic resource.
How many years ago?
It was 2006. There was a previous project proposed for this lot back then.
Great. Okay. And we do have one of our planning commissioners here, Ms. Lodge. Ms. Lodge, if you wish to speak, please flag me down. Okay.
And Kathy, can I just ask you, will we need to update that report? Or since it's accepted with this new project, will I need to do any updates?
As far as I'm concerned, no, unless for some reason the commission feels like things have changed, but that was what they accepted at that time.
All right, Mr. Cornell, you have the floor.
Thank you. So you all know this project, the photos quickly, from the corner of Anacapa and Ortega. This, of course, as Kathy mentioned, is an AUD project, different certainly in terms of location than recent AUD projects you've reviewed. This is the little house, and this is a project that Barry Burkus did probably 5 years ago, something like that.
No, more like 8 years ago.
8 years ago, well, you know how time flies. That's the back half of that which we abut.
And that house is not historic.
Right, and it's been altered as well.
It also had a study.
So I think that's enough in terms of photos. You can thumb through those.
Did you take this today? The sky looks just like
no, it wasn't today. So, I mean, there's, I've also got this for you all to reference in terms of what is around this site. Of course, parking lot 12, I think, is 11 is, thank you, Bill, is across the street. There's a wonderful little, 20s, the pink building with the sort of little Moorish arches, and of course Paradise Cafe on the other corner, the State of California building here, etc. So one block off State Street, just relative to the site, to give you a sense with our footprint sort of overlaid it. This is the outline of the existing metal building. This is the outline of the house that's there now, and then the rest of this is just kind of fenced off in yard area, and then there's a little one-story building right here.
Is that
okay? So from a plan standpoint, I will tell you there are some things here that we're going to have to, as Kathy mentioned, go through PRT. I know I'm going to have to pull the building back a little bit to comply with the pedestrian master plan. Really not much. It's at most 12 inches on the Anacapa side and Ortega, but there is going to be a little bit of adjustment there. But the concept here is pretty simple. It's really to have an eatery restaurant on the corner that is very open and comfortable. You know, this is going to get great sort of afternoon sort of orientations, a couple of small retail spaces, and then the rest of this devoted primarily to the parking for the residential, because we need one space for each unit. The commercial here, believe it or not, only needs two or three spaces. So there's not much because it's in the zone of benefit as a result of parking lot 11. So what we're doing is proposing that the lobby for the residential be off of Ortega, and then of course trash and other stuff will end up changing this plan. Upstairs, it's pretty straightforward. As far as units, we're trying to do a mix. We're trying to maximize the creation of small little 2-bedroom units because we think that's what people would like, but there are also sort of a studio model as well here that's against the project to the east. But as Kathy mentioned, it's below the 811 maximum allowable average square foot per unit, and that's going to change. Probably the key element to this, and in fact, let me just start with these views. The key piece of this really is kind of what I want to do at the corner, and this is an idea that I came up with where I really wanted to have the corner open from the standpoint of pedestrian and access to this restaurant space, and I wanted to have outdoor dining. And so I sort of came up with this idea of doing these arches where the arch at the corner is split in half, and by virtue of that, it sort of becomes this interesting Moorish type of a arch, although it really isn't a Moorish arch because it's that cantilever. And to do some lovely little, do enough detail here where we have a lovely little fixture, maybe some detailing around this window and whatnot, but that becomes the dominant corner element. And this, of course, is showing it in relationship to Paradise when you're up Anacapa. And then getting a little bit closer, you can kind of get a sense of the massing, the two outdoor dining areas here. Whether they are covered with trellis or not, we still want to study, but to set the face of the residential units back from that point, and then at the new little commercial buildings, I actually kind of like the idea of making those feel sort of like 2-story instead of just 1-story, but more like 2-story storefronts in really what is a very typical 25-foot sort of width or module. For these little shops. So that that view. This looks a little bit more straight on as if you were across the street from lot 11.
Nice breakup of the city.
And then this view is a view looking back down Ortega towards the corner. So there's this little 1-story building right here. I will show you on the elevations. Speaking of that side, what I'm thinking is that because we're building this wall, which is the parking area on the property line, it of course needs to be closed off, and building some kind of little pockets within that I show in plan for planting so that we can sort of get a little sort of espalier of vines or whatever that could grow over that wall. And then, of course, the residential units are set back 10 feet from that because that is a property line. So the units that are on the podium level, would definitely have the opportunity for their own private open space, as would these units on the east side. The building here, it kind of shows here, but it comes flush with the property line, and then it sort of jogs back and then it's flush again and jogs back to create light and air for those units. And so I think the relationship here is going to work pretty well. So we do show that. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yeah, and so there is no unit on the corner. Thank you. we'll have a chat about that when I get back.
I didn't mean to get anybody in trouble.
Well, that just
want
happens.
to make it.
They may already be on watching TV. So
They're very embarrassed right
they've
now.
left the building.
So no third story at the corner, and to again pull that third story back off of that so it expresses itself. One final thing before I get comments or questions, we're thinking about the possibility of doing a rooftop deck. If I did that, the advantage is that we would have a lot of flexibility with the balconies, because if I don't do this, then each unit has to have its prescribed 6-foot by 12-foot open space, and that sometimes those balconies get pretty chunky, and so this is at least an idea I wanted you to think about. Obviously, there are two potential downsides to it. One is that I've got open space over living units below, so that has to be obviously mitigated from a construction standpoint. And then it would create this little tower element, which is my entry. Excuse me. You know, this little the little entry piece that is on Ortega then has to grow and to accommodate the elevator and the stairway going up to that upper level. So I wanted to at least get your reaction to that, to see what you know how you would feel about it if we pursued the rooftop deck. Okay. That's the concept.
Okay. That concludes your presentation.
Yep.
All right. I will open public comment. I have one speaker slip, Mr. Kellum DeForest. If anyone else in the audience would like to speak to our commission, please fill out one of these blue slips located on the side wall there. Mr. DeForest.
Yes. Oh, this is. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. This is much superior project to the AUD project that was on 800.
Now.
Okay, I'll stop there. I would like comments on how is it how does it fit in size, bulk, and scale to the EPV guidelines, because it is in the EPV, and I noted from previous hearings that really the AUD, plucking down AUD units in the EPV was not the intent of the AUD ordinance. And here's another one. And was the residence covered in the historic structures report?
Do we have Mr. Hernandez here? Or
It was.
Ms. Kennedy?
I know the caveat.
I can tell you the answer.
Ms. Murray, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was
They're
not
all
deemed
covered.
historic.
No. That little structure.
Right,
is
it
not.
was, I just checked the notes here that
The old
all
mill.
buildings on site, both lots were covered.
Remember those?
Yeah,
I
it
do.
is.
The Craftsman's
Time to be on those
bungalow.
buses. All right, I will close public comment and bring it to the commission for questions. Anybody have any questions?
I actually would like to clarify on the public comment that just happened. Just one.
Okay, I'll open public comment again.
No.
Oh.
Not that I'm speaking
Oh, okay.
as public
I'm sorry.
comment. I just
Well-
want to, the comments that we just heard from Mr. DeForest, I just want to answer one thing.
Okay.
Because I think.
That should be during an open public comment, but go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Got it. I just wanted to answer about the stated intention about the AUD, and that the commission may have questioned the intention of the AUD for being in the district. And I think that was relative to comments that I may have made in the past. I just want to clarify them. What I stated wasn't that AUD shouldn't be applied in the district, but I felt that if it were to be applied, it needs to be applied sensitively, and that AUD might allow you to build something at a certain scope and scale that, when looking at what's the context, maybe one wouldn't apply the entire scope and scale that one's entitled to. as it gets evaluated for size, bulk, and scale. So, and I think that was applying to another project. So I'll have comments relative to that when it comes time for comment on this. But I just wanted to clarify that. It's not that AUD projects shouldn't be within the APV.
Okay.
So, thanks.
Thank you. Now I'll close public comment and go to the commission for questions.
Question?
Yes, question, Commissioner Mahan.
Yeah, does this represent the tower that would go up to the roof?
Yes.
So that is that's
No, that's
Yes, no,
pre-sketch, isn't it?
this would be the tower that would increase
With no
10
roof
feet in height
well, that would
if we went up to the
deck.
fourth to the
we
roof
don't
deck.
really have a perspective of that.
I don't know. I just do have the
elevation.
little sketch.
If you look on the screen, Commissioner Mahan, you'll see the comparison. This is without roof deck. This is with roof deck.
And that's the only piece, that's the only piece that would extrude up. I mean, I may have some trellises up there, but other than that, that would be the only structure that would
But
that
the
would
elevator would
extend.
go up to the roof?
The elevator would have to go to the roof.
And the
yes.
stairs?
Yes.
And then stairs.
And what I take that interior courtyard stair as the second exit off the roof deck.
The interior?
Yeah, the one that comes down into the courtyard.
Right here.
Okay.
So I have a question.
Any more questions, Commissioner Mahan?
No.
Commissioner Murray.
The height of the buildings, so the two-story heights, the sort of the two-story fronts, what are those heights, and then in relation to the overall?
So the little tower to the peak, I'm sorry, I should say the corner element to its peak is 33 foot 4 inches, and then the maximum building height to the top of the tile roof is 39 foot 9 inches.
Okay. And so it's well below the other building, right? Is this the
It's
profile
La
of it?
Fortuna?
Yes.
That's profile of it, okay.
I think it's called La Fortuna. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'll ask one.
Okay.
And it's sort of, probably funny for me to ask this question, but Brian, you really made an emphasis on the corner. I'm going to try to find the drawing.
Here it is.
There it is. Any of these are good. Yeah.
City TV, if you could zoom in.
And what's really interesting, I'm just kind of curious in your studies, typically a corner building, when one emphasizes it, is actually taller. And in this instance, it's shorter. So I'm wondering if you can elaborate on that just a little bit.
Well, Anacapa, to me, does have, when you drive down Anacapa, buildings do tend to be set back, and it is a predominantly two-story kind of scale. And so it just didn't feel right to put a 3-story tower on this corner.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? I have a question. On the first floor, you mentioned incorporating some outdoor dining here, which I think is great. It certainly helps with the building not being right on the property line. You also mentioned that you'd be moving the building about 12 inches. Is there any room to move either one portion of the commercial, back a little bit more so that we can get some landscaping here? On Anacapa Street, it's pretty bleak there. That's a comment, but I think particularly on Ortega Street, some articulation in where the building sits would really, in my mind, and I'm going to a comment again.
You are. This is questions, Mr. Chair.
I know. But I think I'm rationalizing my question, I guess. Would really help with some of the landscape.
Well, let me answer. So the pedestrian master plan calls for these streets, which are 60-foot right-of-way, to have 12-foot 6 inches of right-of-way, which is basically 4 foot of planter, 6 foot of sidewalk, and then 2.5 feet of what they call the furnishing zone, I think is what they call it. So that will facilitate the ability to have a little bit more landscaping along here. Now, as to whether we could move one storefront back or forward, it is possible. Obviously, I'm squeezed. I want to try to maximize the retail. But I am thinking that this would definitely get planter here, and we obviously did already set the building back to create some planting opportunities along here, and we can look for more.
Okay. I have no other questions, so we'll go to comments. Any comments from the commissioners?
Sure. I'll jump in.
Commissioner Winnick, please.
Sure. First of all, I think this is a really a nice start for a project. It's I think the size, bulk, and scale is supportable, and I think it's an appropriate application of an AUD project in the neighborhood. Right off the bat, it's nice that it came in the door not starting with a 4-story building with the intention to end up at a 3-story building. You know, it's appearing as a 2-story building on the corner. It's 3 stories. So I think these are all, sensitive and a smart approach. I think if I were to look at one of the elevations, the one thing I saw in the Ortega elevation is I didn't see quite as much variation there as I see on the Anacapa elevation. So maybe just put the two together. And so I think the Anacapa has got more interest and is working along a little nicer. I see a lot of alignment of the roof on the Ortega elevation that seems to give this feeling or impression of the building to be kind of a long building. So I'm thinking that would be something nice to study. I could support the roof deck. I think that tower structure actually in that one instance becoming a little taller is going to make it a more successful elevation and will help break up the length of the Ortega elevation. And I think having that kind of amenity is really valuable. If we're going to put residential living downtown, let's make it really successful. So I would support that. I think the addition of the outdoor dining, the embrace of the corner are all really favorable things on that commercial portion of the building. And I like that the 2 commercial spaces that are allocated, maybe it becomes 1 in terms of actual use, is nicely, is a nice allocation. So I just share all positives with this.
Thank you.
But, I think you've got some aesthetic studying to do, of course. Yeah. But this was for preliminary comments. So anyway, very nicely done.
Thanks. Any other commissioners' comments? Commissioner Schallenberger?
Sure. Just to sort of add on to that, and only just to head off any future, there are a couple of voices that aren't here today. I can imagine there will be more comment about wanting more interplay between 2- and 3-story especially along the Ortega elevation, and even probably some discussion of some separation between, what was it called, La Fortuna? Is that
I think that's the
8-year-old project? And this is on the Anacapa elevation, some perceived separation there. I mean, if you look at that elevation just in 2D, it's sort of a continuation of massing that goes all the way to the Ortega and Anacapa corner.
You did see them. Yeah.
In the perspectives, it looks a lot better. There is a setback there to the 3rd-story setback, and it does look nice. I'm only bringing it up because there's been criticism in the past of, you didn't tell me this earlier. We didn't mention that that there was a problem with massing. I'm not even saying there is. I'm just suggesting.
You're channeling absent HLC members.
Well, I'll tell you, because there's Paseo Chapala sticks out. 3rd-story massing right at the sidewalk line, right at back of sidewalk, was a major issue and a major problem. This isn't even a personal comment. It's just it was a criticism, and it caused problems in the past. So it's only to say it now so that it gets addressed in some manner. I think the project is very nice. It's a great concept start. I love all the interplay of the different types of balconies and recessed balconies and Juliet balconies. I think it looks very nice. I just wanted to comment, since we're here at the first thing, we're supposed to talk about size, bulk, and scale at this meeting.
Okay. Any additional differing comments?
I have comments.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Mahan.
Well, yeah, I agree with those comments, and I think it's a nice project. I especially like the corner element, the 2-story corner element, which I think is very compatible with the pink building across catty corner across the street, which is also a 2-story building. The comment about getting, if you look at the Ortega elevation, about getting some more variety in the roof height. You know, where that long. I know that there's a hip there. You can hardly see it, but there's a hip. There's a hip. No, right.
Right here. Right.
Yeah, right there. But maybe that could come up more, or a couple of chimneys or something to break up the similarity of the heights. I appreciate 39 feet 9 inches. That really,
it wasn't intentional.
But once in a while, it'd be okay to violate that with pop up a little bit with a roof. And I can support the rooftop patio rather than so much balconies all over the place. And I think the comment that the tower will help the Ortega elevation. I think that's also true. The corner at the end of the Ortega elevation, the perspective shows it better, I think, than the elevation.
That's still your perspective. See dots.
This is here.
Oh, yeah. There you go. This. Where's our little pointer? This here strikes me as being bulky.
Yeah.
Size, if you want to talk about size, bulk, and scale not being appropriate to El Pueblo Viejo, maybe this is the element that doesn't work very well yet. It needs. It's just too brutal. That needs work. But down this way, it looks great.
You gave a pass. I figured he'd solve that.
Okay. Any other comments? Differing comments?
I concur with all those comments. I just want to say that the Ortega side, this is the side that faces all those wooden buildings, kind of a neighborhood residential area, so the softer it will be, the better. And so that this will, doing something about this, which faces that side.
Oh, watch it with the pointer there.
And that sort of view to the mountains will be refined. Will really help. But I concur with all the concept is right in scale.
One other comment that I think is important to make in terms of neighborhood compatibility, we do have the parking structure across the street. We have the Barry Burkus' building, and we also have the Beacons. Is it the Beacons building on Coda Street? Mm-hmm. So there are a number of large the Lions building, and so there are even and I think down at the corner with the building you did, Brian.
They'll remind me.
Anacoda
building. So there are a number of larger buildings, and
it was a long time ago.
Luck will have it when you're on the southeast corner. You're not blocking mountain views, like when you're on, like for instance, this size building where Paradise Cafe is would block mountain views, but in this direction it doesn't. So that's good.
Okay. Any differing comments?
I have some.
Commissioner Vena.
Along the Ortega, the wall that's blocking off the parking there, I think it's pretty flat and pretty linear. I think it should have some attention to relieve it, put some detail on it or something.
Along the driveway there,
Are you talking about right here?
No, he's talking about this wall.
You're talking about this one here.
The driveway wall.
Yeah, the driveway wall.
So that's not facing
That's a pretty long wall, even with those niches, whatever you have there. But certainly you can address the top of it or add something to it or exaggerate it or something. The other is, I've always really not gone along with the parallelism of buildings, and here we're beginning to continue that theory. And it would be nice if you could break it up by pushing out some of the arbors out into the public area and creating some breakup by over-exaggerating them and extending them out. What use you could make out of them, I don't know, but it's just a thought.
So you mean actually cantilever the arbor element beyond?
Put some columns out there.
So like an arcade, out in the public right of way.
I don't think you're allowed to.
Well, you could. It would be a nightmare, but
it's an encroachment.
Well, it would be a nice nightmare.
Interesting. Okay.
Point of view, of course.
It would make it feel a little more European.
The other is, it's kind of nice in some areas to put in some of the balconies that you're talking about, but making them in metal so that they appear to have some mass to them, but they have a lightness to them, and yet some strength, and it goes with the architecture. And let's assume that they might be black. It would certainly be a nice contrast to an all-white building in different areas. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, only that Commissioner Mahan's the only one to weigh in. I think we all probably should on the roof deck option. I could support it personally.
Likewise. I weighed in at the beginning.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Commissioner Murray, I think, did
Very
too.
favorably.
I actually want to go back to a question. How tall is that wall that is on the north elevation? This driveway wall, if you want to call it. It looks like it says it's 14 plus feet.
Yeah.
That's to the floor. That's
Yeah, it would be more like 16.
Yeah, that's right. So it would be 17.
Yeah. Does it need to be that tall?
Well, I want to have a minimum clear height in the retail and restaurant of 12 feet. And then I'm going to have...
I'm sorry, this wall here.
Well, but that's going to set the podium height. This sets that podium all the way through.
Oh.
I can't change that level at the second floor. So, that's what's really governing it, is having a viable height at the retail and restaurant, which I believe a minimum really is 12 feet. So 12 feet plus 2.5 feet or 2 feet of structure, and that puts me at the 14 feet.
But these walls can't drop down?
Well, no, because then I have a break
I got it.
in
I got
this
it.
courtyard
Yeah,
space.
But you could have some opening in the railing.
I could absolutely do that.
Yeah, I think
treating that railing is different.
I could.
Excuse me, Mr. Mahan. I thought I had the floor.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
The other thing I could do there is, again, if I do the rooftop deck, then I have flexibility, and I could do roofs. I could have one-story tile roof.
Okay, so my comment is that side elevation, that north wall, needs a lot more relief than what's being provided.
work.
It needs a lot more work. Similarly, to go off Mr. Mahan's comment, and I hate repeating comments, but I do feel strongly about that mass bulk and scale. It's just not working.
Couldn't agree more.
So that sort of reminds me of the Anaconda bill. Stop.
Nice. Oh, my goodness.
Here, you want to hit me?
Yeah, really.
Okay, any other comments?
Wait till you get your motion.
We'll look for a motion then.
Want a 2-week continuance?
Accept review.
No, I've got to go, as
Comments
Kathy
only.
said, I've
Oh,
got
I'm
to
sorry,
go to
this is-
PC. So
yeah,
your
this-
comments really are to planning, because I'm going to take very close to this to
Yeah.
Planning Commission for
Yeah.
their review, their concept review.
This really is concept only, so comments only. So we've given you our comments.
Yeah, I
Do you
appreciate
understand
it
those
very much.
comments?
Well, no, it's still a motion, though.
No, it's just comments only.
Yeah, but not, okay. No, I was thinking project design approval, but no, we can't even, so somebody want to make a motion then?
Sure. Well, I think Mr. Mahan was...
I was going to make a motion for a continuance. You know when you're going to
Indefinite?
Planning Commission?
No, I've got to apply, and so I
Indefinite
Indefinite
continuance?
Yeah.
continuance.
That's my motion.
Well, could I add to that? I'd like to second and add to it.
Okay.
And just to say that indefinite continuance with the comments shared and positive comments in
Yes,
favor of
yes.
the project.
Yes, agreed.
Okay.
Thank you.
We got a motion by Mahan, second
very
by Winnick. Under discussion, any additional discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Great. Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you. All right, we are 15 minutes ahead of schedule. Therefore, we are going to be taking a 5-minute break or until the next applicant gets here. The next item on the agenda is item 8 for 116 Castillo Street. We are in recess.
Thanks.
Okay. Surprised they never classified that.
The night and day through, just hoping I'll get one sweet love letter from you. Why don't you drop me a line?
Baby, won't you please come home? 'Cause your baby's all alone. I have tried in vain, never no more to call your name. When you left, you broke my heart, but that should never keep us apart. 'Cause every hour in the day you can hear me say, baby, won't you please come home? I need you, come on home. Oh, baby, won't you please come home? 'Cause your baby's all alone. I have tried in vain, never no more to call your name. Now when you left, you broke my heart, but that should never keep us apart. 'Cause every hour in the day you can hear your baby say, oh baby, won't you please come home? Baby needs loving. Oh baby, won't you please come home? When your arms caress me, something wonderful happens. I can feel a thrill so heavenly. When your lips possess me, something wonderful happens. Though it rains, it's beautiful to see. Even the showers can bring a thrilling refrain. A street without flowers becomes a garden in Spain. Strange what love can do, dear. And 'cause I love you, dear, something wonderful happens to something wonderful happens to me.
Okay, I will reconvene the Historic Landmarks Commission meeting of Wednesday, July 1st. The next item on the agenda is item 8. This is concept review continued for 116 Castillo Street. This is proposal to demolish, this is the second concept review, comments only. Project requires Planning Commission review for a coastal development permit, development plan approval, and requested zoning modifications. The project was last reviewed on September 24th, 2014, and I'm required to read those comments. This was continued indefinitely with the following comments. The proposed modification is supportable. The project's concept, architectural design, and size and bulk and scale are supportable. Provide renderings and or visual simulations with mountains shown behind the building. Rooftop amenities are discouraged. Study making the secondary driveway not so close to the residences. It would be better if there was only one driveway entrance, not two. The arch leading into the parking lot should be thick and emphasized. If the parking lot must be in the front, it should be more special, particularly at the lobby, with more of a plaza front door feel to it. The motion was made by Winnick. It was seconded by Lavoie. It was a 5-0-0 vote. Drury, Mahan, Murray, and Sharp were absent. Okay. Did Mahan watch the tape?
I did not.
Okay. Did Murray watch the tape?
No, I didn't, sorry.
Okay. Please introduce yourselves for the record and give us a brief presentation.
Joe Androlaitis, Brian Cornell, Jack Kiesel, landscape architect. This hasn't changed significantly since you saw it last, but we're providing the information like the photo sims that you mentioned on those minutes. I'm going to let Joe go through what has changed and give you the overview, and then we'll have Jack present the landscape plan, which you haven't seen. Okay?
And then lastly, I'm just going to leave the view thing for last.
Okay.
So I'll go over all the items except for the view, and then we'll do landscape, and then we'll look at all that stuff at the end.
Okay.
So let's talk about the mod. The mod previously...
Do you guys need us to orient you as far as photos are concerned first?
No.
Okay.
So.
The photos I have are part of the view discussion. So,
use the pointer, please.
Through our PRT process, we realized that we applied for this mod, which is a mod for basically the second floor, to encroach on the 15-foot setback, since it's a two-story building. So you can see right here. And essentially, it's just going to be the exterior exit balcony that will encroach on that. And that was previously supportable.
That's because it's adjacent to this residential zone.
Well, it's a residential zone, but it's a hotel, which will likely never be used as a residential zone in the future. So we have staff support on that, but I wanted to get your input on this issue. So when I look at my roof plan, the setback for this back property line is half the building height. So we're calling the building height of the flat roof area at 30 feet. So this would require 15 feet from this back property line. However, part of the design was trying to differentiate between these two roof elements. So we left a gable end at the front portion of this building, which isn't, as you can see, sitting on the back part of the lot. So we would like to go for a mod for the building height and keep the 15-foot setback, but knowing that we're over the 30-foot at the front. And you can notice that in the
so that's really just that little gable
elevation
tip is what it is.
And we have here, which I think really helps with making this more of a dynamic elevation by having this flat and having this nice gable end here. So that addresses the mods. As far as the secondary driveway, we did try to eliminate one driveway with transportation, but we didn't have any success with that. And they actually made us increase the width of that driveway slightly for fire department access. So we kind of... So this driveway, one of the problems we have is getting to the back of this lot. And they need to get their fire trucks up to this point so they can get their hoses back here. So we had to create a pathway in and around the lot to get to this back corner.
What was the original width you had?
I think we were at like 12 feet before. So they needed at least 16. So we tried to argue our points, but we kind of.
And I'm
lost
assuming
it
that
there.
the additional 4 feet came out of these planters,
It came out of this one.
because that one's required.
Yeah. So that's the driveway issue. The arch leading into the parking lot. So we already had that as a thick arch element, but we further, actually, the opposite way. We further enhanced it by engaging some columns on either side here. And then we add, I don't know if we had this articulation before on the near the spring line of the arch, but we also did the same detailing on this arch on the side elevation. So, and then if you look in plan, that thickness is, I think it's at least around 18 inches.
Nope. And one more.
I think you're right. Back one right there.
Vannon's not doing a very good job.
So this column is about 18 inches deep.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's thick here too as well. All the openings along there are fairly thick. Okay, as far as the parking lot, so let's go back to the site plan here. So comment regarding it being more special and feel like a lobby. So what we felt would work is if this felt like a plaza. And so we enhanced the plaza feel with the paving here. And then we added a canopy at the entrance. I think the Eagle Inn has something similar. It may not be wrought iron, but you can see it here. And then we still have the partial height wall on the front that would hide all the parking from view from the pedestrian. But we thought that would be a nice little entry element over that and kind of enhance the plaza. And then that'll lead into Jack because we enhance it further with some landscaping. So,
Jack, why don't you?
let's go to this plan.
So we got 2 plans today for you regarding landscape. One, obviously, the landscape plan showing kind of this little paving and the planting layout, the proposed planting layout with some of the existing plantings noted. And then on this other, we don't have it. We had a.
Maybe it's that way.
Yeah, this is like the tree protection. And we brought this to you guys so you can kind of see what's there and what we're going to be relocating and some of the stuff that would be permanently suggested.
Why don't you go
to be
through that
removed.
first real quick?
Okay. So over on this, the adjacent property, what's this end again? Right on the next door?
What's it called?
Yeah, anyway, that inn. There's a number of king palms along there, so that this whole area has quite a few king palms. There's a existing soap bark tree here. That's the designated street tree, and so we'd be suggesting adding a few more along this parkway, and that one right there will remain as is. Right now, it's not in the best condition, so I think that might be worthwhile for the city to kind of take a look at that and determine whether that's something that needs to be replaced or not. We have some existing vegetation on this side, and then here we have some fairly large trees, existing silk floss trees, and a willow over here on the adjacent property. This is on this side. We're looking out onto a kind of an empty parking lot for the hotel over there on this side. And within here, these areas you can see right here, we have a number of clusters of existing king palms, and we'd be suggesting relocating those elsewhere on the site for construction. So we want to keep those as much as possible. There is one black acacia right here that we'd be suggesting to be removed because I think we have a good spot for that. There's an umbrella tree on the corner over there, and we'd be also suggesting relocating that. And we do have a spot for that. So we've taken these and on the landscape plan have shown where they would be relocated.
Any of the Washingtonias being relocated, or you were
On
removing
those,
all
we
of
were
those?
going to take those out.
Okay.
We're just going to concentrate on keeping with the king palms at this point.
Okay. And then on the east side over here, west side, excuse me, we would be suggesting, again, introducing some of these existing and proposed king palms along there. It's very narrow, as you can see, and then we have to provide access here, so we have some pavers that get you there. Same with over on this side, the fire department requires that we do that. But yet we still want to create enough feeling of privacy for these individual units. In this back area here, we have sycamores, and this is kind of more of a shady area, so more shade-tolerant species, understory stuff around there. This is where you're looking out at the parking lot underneath here, so not too many people are going to be really seeing this, but you're going to get a sense for that when you're up in the upper balconies. Here in the front, this is kind of bioswale drainage areas, so water from the site will be draining into here, and so we're accommodating that with a mix of type of grasses, lomandras, and succulents, and plantings of that nature to go in there. These trees right here, we're suggesting combination of desert willows, Phoenix robelinii, we're going to be having some of those. We did suggest a few peppermint willows after darks here to go against the building for a little bit of contrast. I wanted to check with you guys to see if that was working as far as historical context. And then here, these would be podocarpus, just a hedge of podocarpus. They already have some there already, so we'd just be working along with that. And then just, soft plantings, combination of some chondropelums and whatnot, again, to kind of create a sense of separation between the parking and then the circulation areas.
Okay, that concludes your presentation. All right, I will.
We need to look at the.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thanks, Jack.
This is about ultimately. Obviously, this is about making findings in terms of views, size, bulk, and scale.
Okay, so we've provided several views. It's a little hard for me to see upside down on this part, but as we walk up Castillo Street, this one is probably, I think, the worst case scenario right here. And what we've done is we've kind of highlighted what we believe would be the impacted view area of the park and ball. Once you get past into the ball field area and then over into this wooded area, there's not much view impact because, one, you're far enough back here to see over all the buildings, and over here, given all the existing tree lines, you can't even see practically across the street because of all the existing trees. So here we have, this is the existing view, and then this is the view showing the three-story portion. As you can see, this area has the existing trees, and we're actually going to propose more street trees. So I think actually those trees that you're seeing that Jack has proposed probably going to provide more view blockage than our building would ultimately. Here, as we step back, you can see there's no impact there, and then here, as we're further down the building, you get a little sliver over here that we're losing as a result of just trying to. What slide is this? The two-story portion in the back is actually contributing to that. So, if we continue down the road, these are more relevant to. Those are more like street elevations, and these are more relevant to views from the park. And as you can see, in most of these cases, we're so far back that the mountain, crest is still visible on all these views. And then, as you can see here, there's so many trees in that area, and then these are the locations, and then showing the impacted view area. And then I supplemented the photos as I kind of walked up Castillo Street this morning, and this is kind of like the views you'd see as you walk up and you kind of look to your right. It gives you a little more context as to what we're speaking of. But what you'll notice is when you walk up this all the development, even some of the single-story structures are providing, some kind of view blockage. So it's difficult to do, any type of building without having some kind of impact. But in general, we feel like we're complying with the mountain views. And I would probably reconsider putting the street trees in, because I think that's actually going to be the most impact out of anything that we're proposing here. So that concludes our presentation.
Okay. I will open public comment. I do not have any speaker slips, so I'll close public comment, bring it to the commission for questions. Just one question, since you just happened to mention street trees. Mr. Kiesel, have you checked with the Urban Forest Superintendent and Parks Department on the designated street tree for Castillo? And that is the designated.
Yeah, we made sure we followed through on that. It was definitely the soap bar.
Okay.
We one time looked at adding some king palms in there, because there are other ones there, but they said soap bark only.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? Anybody?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Commissioner Mahan.
This is really a functional question, I guess, but if I want to come to this hotel, I have to come to it by entering the garage first. Is that true?
The garage would be the entrance, and then the other driveway would be the exit.
Yeah. But usually you. So if you come and then if you turn to, say to park in front of the lobby because you want to go in to check in, then you can't get back into the garage. Is that true, or is
you back to the street?
You'd have to go out on the street and then come back if there wasn't available parking over here.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners?
Yes.
Commissioner Schallenberger.
Where is the transformer going to go?
I can't remember where we located it.
Is it possibly shown on the
I have it on the civil plan, but I don't.
I had seen the backflow preventer, and then I saw the screening for that, so I was just curious.
Do you recall where we located it?
Do we have a transformer? Do we know there's a
I
transformer?
don't even know if we've.
Maybe it's on the pole mounted. I don't know.
It might be pole. I honestly can't recall.
Well, we're not showing it.
No, that's a drain.
And then this west elevation has a really lovely, graceful curved stair wall.
What sheet are you on?
West elevation, A201. This front elevation next to the driveway entrance, or that. I assume you put in the stair behind that just to make sure that those proportions work, because that looks really nice.
Yeah, we'll double check that we have the rail height. Is that what you're speaking to?
Yeah, you're right. Just how that might affect that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Going once, going twice, gone. Comments? Anybody?
Well, yeah. In general, I think the project's supportable, size, bulk, and scale. Thanks for this, the site studies in terms of views. And, I think as happens with any kind of construction, you are going to have some views that have some impact, but I feel like the aggregate, the total, like you took us to enough places to see around the property, and it seems in scale, and I feel like the predominant amount of views that one wants to see are still there. So I think it's supportable from the point of view of being sensitive to the views. I tend to disagree about the street trees. I'm still in favor of street trees, even if they do affect the views a little. I think they soften the building, and I would be in favor of street trees. I had one little question, just because it had come up in the minutes from the last time about this lobby entrance, and I'm wondering, it's more of a planned feeling, and I could have asked it as a question, but I'm just going to state it as a
comment.
A comment. I feel like this should come all the way across. I don't really like this little strip that then makes its way to, quote, a little reception area. It just seems really too small to me. Like, if this was a gesture that came all the way across, that would feel more like an entrance inviting me in, and perhaps people would park in those spaces last. They might feel a little intimidated about it. It would feel more open. And I know most people aren't pedestrians when they first arrive, but if they're out and about, they might come back to the building as a pedestrian. So I think that would make the pedestrian experience a little nicer. And I think the architecture you've studied well, so I won't make a lot of comments about that, or any. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Commissioner Schallenberger?
Yeah, I would go a step further. I mean, this got really positive comments in its first concept review, and nothing. These simulations haven't done anything to take away from that. I think, in fact, it's proven that we were right the first time. Frankly, I mean, if you just look, I have to go back to. Just look at what's there. Look at what's proposed. I mean, you're basically talking about removing something that is a complete violation of every guideline in EPV and replacing it with something that is in total compliance.
Yeah.
So I think this would just be a wonderful addition.
Any other comments, commissioners? I have two comments. I think the first one I'll actually differ in Commissioner Winnick's comment about taking this paving all the way out to the wall, or perhaps even to the sidewalk. I think you were just talking about taking it out to the wall.
Yeah,
but
it could come out to the sidewalk.
I feel like having it close to the entry actually accentuates that entry more. It makes it more special. It's like you've arrived. Perhaps this could be a little bit wider, but it feels to me like you need to announce this area as opposed to just simply, draw people in. So if you have, less is more sometimes. I think that this kind of configuration actually punctuates and highlights where your entry is. I don't disagree that maybe there could be a stronger connection there, but I don't think it should be the full width, because I think that dilutes and diminishes that sense of arrival when you get to that plaza you're proposing. And then with respect to the landscape, king palms are difficult to transplant. They just are very sensitive, and Washingtonia, Mexican fan palms are much easier to. I know they're totally different trees. One, will get twice the height of the other. But you have some decent sized Washingtonias there. I would like you to study utilizing or relocating some of those Washingtonias. That king palms are difficult to transplant, and you may end up having to buy when you could use in strategic locations where the scale is appropriate, the Washingtonias. And then I actually lied. I had a third comment. I think it's the Chalopsis. Planting that in a bioretention swale might prove problematic. It's a desert willow. It likes, more dry conditions. Certainly they can take, they grow in washes in the desert, but it may not be the most appropriate tree for the aesthetic of a bioretention as well as the cultural needs of it. I'm not saying no. They are nice trees, but it just might be a little bit incongruous with what that bioretention is looking like.
I'm sure we got really good drainage now. We'll make sure that's.
Okay. Any other comments, Commissioner Schallenberger?
Well, just for staff, I think the consensus is that we're in support of the modifications.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let's talk about
specifically
the one,
the roof.
Yeah, no, I had meant to mention that. Yeah, I'm totally in favor of that. I think the improvement of the elevation, allowing that modification is so worth it.
I think we want to talk about the elevation there.
Because we could obviously avoid the mod by just making it a flat roof.
Right.
So it's just, it's a little wedge of a bit of roof that's...
The mod's totally supportable. It's the right approach.
Yeah.
Totally in favor of that.
Actually, I came up with two more comments. I'm sorry. On the elevation, I forgot. On sheet A201, the east elevation number 3, I'm a little uncomfortable with what is happening here. It feels like these columns need to go to the ground, or that this needs to be thickened. It needs to have more mass there. Okay. Maybe that could be accomplished with a solid wall instead, but it feels like this is too much of a span here without either those coming down or this being thickened up, or doing a different type of opening there. But that's quite a wide.
Is that an open area issue as far as the ventilation in the garage? So we could close that down.
Yeah, we'll look at it, but I can make it that thicker, and we can relook at the column. And
There's something there. And then just as kind of a joke, Mr. Kiesel's license has expired.
What when?
12/31, 2014.
Got to talk to your staff, right?
I think he probably is.
What could be note to self?
Right. That's probably how old the drawing is. No, anyway, okay, very good. Somebody want to make a motion? This is.
Just want to add, I need to make project compatibility comments.
I don't think we get to because it's not we're not making design.
Project design approval.
That's what they would want you to do that for the planning commission.
Gullett, would you please come forward?
So they want them. Okay.
We have the case planner here.
Or at least want to know that you're willing to make them.
Yeah. Mr. Gullett.
That means we have to find
Chair
them.
Suding, yes. So the next step for this project would be Planning Commission, and the municipal code asks that Historic Landmarks Commission go through the compatibility analysis for the benefit of conversation between HLC and Planning Commission.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Gullett.
I'd like to.
I actually do want to mention, though, that we have Planning Commissioner Lodge here if she wishes to speak at all on anything or have questions. Okay, very good.
I'm stealing Mr. Mayhem's copy. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to include the compatibility comments with favorable comments for this project to be continued to the Planning Commission and then continued back to us. So, compatibility considerations is that it's, in conformance with municipal code provisions, the project is consistent with, for the architecture and landscaping and site design, consistent with the architectural character of the APV. Its consistent size, mass, bulk, and scale is appropriate. That does not impact any historic resources. The public vistas, and particularly the mountains, are still quite visible, and it doesn't impact them. And that the open space and landscaping associated with the project are favorably
And the modifications.
And the modifications, absolutely. That there's several, I think there were 2 modifications proposed, one which was the side yard setback modification that's acceptable, as well as the roof setback at the back, that there's a 15-foot setback but no more, and that's still acceptable as well.
So it does not pose consistency issues?
I'll continue, sorry. And does not pose consistency issues with the required findings with EPV guidelines. Okay.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor.
Second.
We have a second. Under discussion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Mahan abstains.
I think enough time has probably passed.
Reason?
Okay, we have one abstention, Commissioner Murray.
No, I abstain.
And then Commissioner Mahan will abstain as well.
Don't we normally say why?
It's because they did not review the last, they were not present for the last.
Understood. Okay.
Yeah. But the motion still carries.
Yeah. No,
Thank you. Yeah. It's just a matter of bookkeeping, so to speak.
Yes. Well done.
Or record keeping.
Are we ahead of schedule again? By the way, I stole for some reason, you didn't get all these today. I took yours.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is item 9. We are approximately 24 minutes ahead of schedule, which is a good thing.
Would you repeat that, please?
We are 24 minutes ahead of schedule, which is always a good thing.
No, it means I can believe it.
Did you hear it? I don't think so.
But even if they are, we can't.
We can't hear it in 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Well, it's not really a public review, but it's
I think it'd be
it's best, yeah. So the commission is in recess until 3:50.
to gain complete control of you and handle even the heart and soul of you. So love at least a small percent of me do. For I love all of you. Yeah, I love all of you.
Think of what you're losing by constantly refusing to dance with me. You'd be the idol of France with me, and yet you stand there and shake your foolish head dramatically while I wait here so ecstatically. You just look and say emphatically, not this season, there's a reason. I won't dance, don't ask me. I won't dance, don't ask me. I won't dance, monsieur, with you. I'm fond of dancing, but I won't dance with you. When your arms enfold me, with your arms you hold me. You hold me so close and tight. I sort of like it, but it gives me a fright. It's never harmed me, but who knows when it might. When you dance, you're charming and you're gentle, especially when you do the continental. But this feeling isn't purely mental. For heaven rest us, I'm the next bestest, and that's why I won't dance. Why should I won't dance. How could I won't dance. Merci beaucoup. I know that music leads the way to romance. So if I hold you in my arms, I won't dance. I won't dance, monsieur, with you. My heart won't let my feet do things they should do. Dancing as an exercise may do good. I've no doubt it's doing quite a few good. Though I know your partners all call you good, for me you're too good to get to do good. So that's why I won't dance. Why should I won't dance. How could I won't dance. Merci beaucoup. My heart won't let my feet do things they should do. I'm like an ocean wave that's bumped on the shore. I feel so absolutely stumped on the floor. I know that music leads the way to romance. So if I hold you in my arms, I won't dance.
If you ever plan to motor west, travel my way, take the highway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. It winds from Chicago to LA, more than 2,000 miles all the way. Get your kicks on Route Route 66. Now you go through St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, and Oklahoma City's mighty pretty. You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona, don't forget Winona, Kingman, Barstow, San Bernardino. Won't you get hip to this timely tip? When you make that California trip, get your kicks on Route 66. St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, and Oklahoma City's mighty pretty. You'll see Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona, don't forget Winona, Kingman, Barstow, San Bernardino. Won't you get hip to this timely tip? When you make that California trip, get your kicks, 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 get your kicks on Route 66, 66, 66.
You know the one I love belongs to somebody else. He sings his tender songs for somebody else. And even when he has his arms all around me, I know his thoughts belong to somebody else. Don't you know that the hand I hold belongs to somebody else? I know they're not so cold for somebody else. Gee, it's tough to be alone on the shelf. Worse to fall in love by yourself when the one you love belongs to somebody else. Baby, the one I love belongs to somebody else. He sings his tender songs for somebody else. And even when he has his arms all around me, I know his thoughts belong to somebody else. The hold belongs to somebody else. I know they're not so cold for somebody else. Gee, it's tough to be alone on the shelf. Worse to fall in love by yourself yourself when the one you love, oh, the one you love, I the one you love belong to somebody else.
Someday, when I'm awfully low, when the world is cold, I will feel a glow just thinking of you and the way you look tonight. Lovely, with your smile so warm and your cheeks so soft, there's nothing for me but to love you just the way you look tonight. With each word, your tenderness grows, tearing my fears apart. And that laugh that wrinkles your nose touches my foolish heart. You're lovely, don't you ever change. Keep that breathless charm. Won't you please arrange it? 'Cause I love you just the way you look tonight. With each word, your tenderness grows, tearing my fears apart. And that laugh that wrinkles your nose touches my foolish heart. You're lovely, don't you ever change. Keep that breathless charm. Won't you please arrange it? 'Cause I love you just the way you look tonight. Just the way you look
Many a tear has to fall, but it's all in the game. All in the wonderful game that we know.
We on schedule now? All right.
Close enough.
Okay, the Historic Landmarks Commission of Wednesday, July 1st will reconvene. The next item on the agenda is concept review for item 9103 Chapala Street. This is second concept review, comments only. Project requires environmental assessment and staff hearing officer review for requested front and interior setback, open yard, and lot area modifications. This was last reviewed, looks like, on
June 6th.
or May 6th, 2015. May 6th, 2015. All right, and these are the comments. There was a motion to accept the report. We did a historic structures report at the same time. We also reviewed the project, and it was continued indefinitely to the staff hearing officer with positive comments. The proposed modification is aesthetically appropriate. The proposed modification does not pose consistency issues with El Pueblo Viejo design guidelines. The motion was made by Mahan. It was seconded by Lavoie. It was a 7-0-0 vote. Murray and Vena were absent. The motion carried. All right, please introduce yourself for the record and give us a brief presentation.
All right, my name is Jeff Burrell with LMA Architects, and so I'm here for in progress for two elements that you had brought up at the last meeting. You seem to appreciate the overall design, but the main entry, where I just had a roof on it, and
oops, and that one as well. If you could turn that one, they like to triangulate. There you go.
Okay. That's Jeff Gurrell with LMA Architects. So I'm here for an in-progress review to address the two elements that were brought up at the last meeting. One was the entry to give it more interest. And then at the corner, there was a suggestion that we would like to have more mass at the corner. And that room on the second floor looking at the harbor is one of the reasons my client bought the property. It had glass all the way around the corner. And so we thought we might bring this in as a possibility of having a post here and wrapping that and having it appear like the glass wraps around the corner. Is that really is a spectacular view. So here's a photograph showing the entry. It's kind of small if I zoom in, but here's where the
City
entry
TV
is now.
can zoom in.
So I appreciated this suggestion on the entry. That was a good one. And that view from State Street that's being remodeled down there on Mason Beach as you turn off of State Street or look up Mason Street from State Street, you're looking right at this entry. So I think that's going to make a nice addition to the city, to the community and the feel. So that's what I'm here for. And then one last item. We were looking to preserve the garage. So there was an existing garage here, and that went added onto the back was an existing storage area. This was an existing non-conforming garage that was in bad shape. It was going to cost a fortune to reconstruct it, and the interiors were only 8 feet wide at best. The cars were really unusable. So cars would park in the 20-foot setback out here. So we thought that we might as well just remove that garage. We'll keep this little storage in the back and do a trellis across here, some enhanced paving, probably do some pervious paving. And I have, let's see. This is a view of the garage now as it is. And so I was looking around town at something that I might like to do there that would be nice. And the gas company, we can't do grass anymore, but this kind of gives you an idea where I believe I would like to come up with a design that would incorporate some pervious paving with some different type of material and maybe some stonework into this patio as opposed to trying to keep that unusable grouping of garages. I looked at another one, but it's interesting. I thought you might be interested in that. Was the Hayward's, and that was a nice idea, but that didn't work. And that is my presentation.
Okay. I will open public comment. I do not have any speaker slips, so I'll close public comment and go to the commission for questions. Questions. Any of the commissioners have questions? Commissioner Schellenberger?
Do you, maybe not for the applicant, but staff, what was the previous corner? There was a rendering previously, right? What was it beforehand?
There was
I'd just like to see what we saw first.
a small plaster column there, wasn't it?
It was. It was a small plaster column.
Oh, this is nice.
So you've just put basically a post, steel post or something.
That's right. Yeah, so it appears like the doors wrap around.
Do you have that, Ms.
But you made a comment that we asked for more mass. You've taken away.
Well, that was the comment to ask for more mass, and that's I'm asking for, rather than going that direction, we go this direction
Yeah.
for the client's benefit.
Yeah.
I think these are just site photos.
We didn't have those, huh?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
I get that.
Okay. You done with your questions, Commissioner Shaw? Commissioner Mahan?
Yeah, your drawing here shows the first floor window under the balcony.
What
is-
sheet are you on?
No, not broken up, but your rendering shows it as broken up.
Yeah, the original drawings had shown it as a solid piece of glass, and it is, in fact, is broken up, and I would like to prefer to keep it broken up. Yeah.
Where are you looking at?
That would be
there.
That would be this.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's going to be broken up like the rendering.
That'll be like the rendering. That's right.
Thank you.
Something like this.
Yeah. I guess eight panes or something, 6 panes.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Schomburg.
Well, just how is that in that same location? How is that balcony going to be supported at the corner? I'm only seeing some brackets to the sides, but all the way at the corner. Well, look in the rendering, actually. You know what I mean? There's a window beyond. I don't see how you return any kind of angle support there.
You want to pass the
Can we get the rendering maybe? Would
It'll cantilever off of, yeah, it'll cantilever back.
So you're talking about right here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there's a steel member that goes back into the building, that's going to work.
We're going to be doing a lot of new structural on this building.
Okay, any other questions, commissioners?
Yeah, I have one.
Commissioner Winnick?
I know you were asked to study the front entrance, so I'm just kind of curious what your precedent was for what you chose at the end of the day.
Okay, if I have...
Or the thinking behind it.
Okay. I was, we were trying to get more outdoor living space for the units, and in fact, Unit 3 upstairs had none. So I was going to have a path over here and have some outdoor living space on top of the existing garage. And this actually worked out better in my mind, in that this view from this deck, both to and from up Mason Street to State Street, gorgeous view of the mountains beyond, direct access off of this level. That's how it grew.
Got it. And I probably should have been more precise. I think that all makes lots of sense. I think I wanted to know is what your references were for the fenestration. Yeah, the style of the doors and the lights around the doors and all that.
City TV, if you could zoom in.
I totally get the balcony idea. So.
Yeah.
City TV, if you could zoom in.
This started with what is the street up by the Mission? They're the string of homes.
Plaza Unipero?
Yeah, Plaza Unipero.
Plaza Rubio.
Yeah, there's a one entrance that had the tile set in just in the top here, and it was at the entry, and there was a patio above that I liked, and I wanted to. I thought I could enhance that and build off of that and create this smaller patio, and I like the idea of carrying the plaster motif and tile all the way down with the fixtures on either side. And beyond that, it was something else I've seen in the past. I can't remember where I saw it.
All right. Any other questions, commissioners? Going once, going twice, gone. How about comments? Any comments, commissioners?
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Mahan.
It was my comment about the column on the corner of the balcony there, but I like the glassy look like this. I think it feels very beachy and appropriate for this area. Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess since I asked a question, but she's talking, so go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner. Go ahead, Commissioner Winnick.
Since I asked the question about the entrance, my thought is it looks a little bit like it doesn't totally go with this house. That's why I was asking. So I was trying to figure out where the style is. But I think the one thing I think I'd want to see, given the amount of energy, let's say, that it has, it seems to me like it needs more recess or something. anyways, it just seems like there's not enough relief. Like if it were to push back, I think it would help that you have
Depth,
more,
you mean the depth.
more depth. Yeah, to have some shadows around the door and those elements. It feels very much like it's on the surface. So that would be my impression. I guess I wasn't quite sure where the arch was coming from, but you know, it seems like it's slightly a different style than the rest of the building, but it's not enough to have me, you know, weigh in very heavily to stop where you're going on the project. But I would encourage some more recess.
More relief, okay.
Relief.
Particularly with the door.
Anybody else have any comments? Commissioner Mahan.
I'll play off of that comment there. I have some problem with the arched door. I would ask you to look at the entrance to the George Washington Smith's first house on Middle Road. It's an entrance kind of like this and has a balcony on top. And also, I believe the News Press building, which George Washington Smith also did, has a very similar. It's a very, very powerful entrance, but it's got a certain simplicity to it that I think maybe would fit in better to this building, with the Monterey, kind of the Monterey style at the top here, and the rest of the building is fairly simple, and maybe this arch with all the tile around is too fancy for the rest of the building. Look at what Smith did for the entrances to the News Press and also his first. They called it the Heberton House on Middle Road, and see if you don't like that wouldn't fit in better to this.
Okay.
Cool. Mr. Chair. Commissioner Schomburger?
You had mentioned earlier in the presentation showed the view down Mason Street. Were you moving the entry to align with that street at all, or
no?
Okay.
Okay. I actually have a question now. Are these doors operable?
They are.
They are. And how are they operable? Are they bifold?
I would like them to bifold all the way back. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it shows in the plan.
I'm sorry, I didn't look at the plan. The comment I have on those, Mr. Gurel, is that they to me feel a little contemporary, almost mid-century. And that's not what you're going for in the rest of the house or necessarily the fenestration. I'm not sure that rest of the commissioners agree with me or that I'm even on the right track, but maybe it has to do with the proportions of the breakups. I see that, you know, you're kind of matching the proportions of other breakups on the building, but then again, we have these more sort of vertical proportions. So I'm not sure if the rest of the commission feels like that is, I don't mind the lightness of that corner, but it's feeling to me like it's a little bit of a mid-century modern solution, perhaps. You know, I could be convinced that, hey, that's the kind of thing that they did in the mid-century to these Spanish colonials. You know, I don't know. Commissioner Mahan.
Chair, I agree with you, and I think that it's the proportion of, where's your pointer here?
Pointer, please.
It's the proportions of this rectangle here that's not quite right. You need to have one less horizontal, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you went to 4, I think it would work out okay, and it would feel more traditional. And from the standpoint of this being the great view of the harbor, you'd be happier with fewer mullions than more mullions.
Yeah, my client would like to have none.
Yeah, I think you could bring this rectangle to be
square.
Not square, but
I know.
May I mark on?
No, not on that rendering. No, not square, but
Flip to the elevation.
Let me look at the elevation. I'm just curious whether.
Well, this is actually part of the record now, but
closer to a.
Interesting enough.
Closer
2, 3, 4. You know what?
It's the rendering.
It's the rendering is off. The elevation's actually drawn.
That's what I wanted to see.
Oh yeah,
which is correct.
That's better.
I think that is better. Yeah. The rendering is what was throwing me.
Yeah. Okay.
Something else that might help
Can I actually finish with one of my comments? I'm sorry. And then with respect to the pavers in the driveway, and you actually flip to a good sheet here because it says, you're showing those pavers there. These certainly aren't acceptable in the district, and they also don't work, really. Something more in this vein that has that sort of tumbled look would be, but there are a lot of different permeable pavers out there that don't look so much like they're interlocking, and they look more like they're cobbles.
That's what I was saying.
Okay, good. And you showed a herringbone pattern there, and I think that even common red brick might work. Okay. Those are my comments. Commissioner Mahan, please.
Well, I was just going to suggest on those windows, they might not have to be glass clear to the floor. If you've got a railing anyway that you're not going to look through, you might have a panel at the bottom, which would be very nice, and then have the the glass, one third panel and 2/3 glass.
I think I'd prefer to have a panel at the bottom.
And it'll make it more structural too.
And then I have something.
Yeah, Commissioner Winnick.
Just that since the project did include modifications and it's going to staff hearing officer again, I believe.
No, you haven't been yet.
Oh, you're finished.
You haven't been there
yet.
It's a long road to get there.
Right. So I just wanted to say that I think that I'm in favor of the modifications.
Yeah, we were last time, so I don't think anything's changed.
I appreciate that. That's important to reiterate that.
Yeah.
It's still, the project merits it. And I think it's a really wonderful project.
Okay. Ms. Kaufman?
I believe there's one additional front setback that was new from last time. Is that correct?
Listed for show in the letter, but it was always here. Yeah.
One last question.
Yes, Commissioner Schallenberger.
This trash and recycle trellis, is that just a single post and single beam? What is?
It's not fully designed yet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what's shown. Yeah, I haven't given it much thought. I know I want landscaping there.
Oh, actually, if I can weigh in one more thing. Also, very much in favor of omitting the garages in favor of the trellis. I think that's a great improvement. So, we need to give you encouragement on the good things that are being proposed.
I'm surprised that you're allowed. You don't have to have covered parking.
I was too, but I vetted that.
But in this case, it's a favorable move.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other comments? Going once? Commissioner Murray?
I agree with that. The arch door, I think is inappropriate.
Where to go?
And the Smith Building on Los Olivos also has that treatment of the square. You might want a more rectangular entry.
Los Olivos and Garden?
Yeah, Los Olivos and Garden. Anyway, I'm in support of the removal of the garage, and I agree with all the comments that have been made.
Okay. All right. Somebody want to make a motion?
It's for continuance?
Yes. Indefinite to staff hearing officer.
A motion for an indefinite continuance with the comments that we like the solution to the windows on the corner.
Shown on the elevation.
As shown on the elevations.
Not the rendering.
We would like the entrance to be restudied, probably with a rectangular door rather than.
And how about the paving, the permeable paving, more of a cobble type solution?
Yeah, permeable paving.
Could you comment on the garage, the removal of the garage?
Removal, we support the removal of the garage and we support the modifications.
Okay, you want to read the modification language?
The modification is aesthetically appropriate. The proposed modifications poses consistency issues.
Does not
pose consistency issues with the following design guidelines or require findings. Yard lot or floor area modifications. We don't have.
No.
Yeah, we do have yard modifications.
We do. You're right.
Promotes an appearance of uniformity of development.
Yay.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, we had a maker. We have a second made by. Motion was made by Mahan, second by Winnick. Under discussion. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Go to work.
Nice project.
Nice photo.
And the neighborhood needs it. That's been, every time it gets finished, it'll be nice.
I'm going to have to fold this.
Right on schedule.
Hey. I don't mean. Okay, next item on the agenda is item 10, and that's for 1220 Chapala Street. This is a second concept review. Action can be taken if sufficient information is provided. Project requires Tier 3 stormwater management program compliance. And I believe this was last reviewed on June... Huh?
2 weeks
June
ago.
17th. Okay, I don't have any comments for it. Or do I?
We can stop. Our landscape architect's not here.
It doesn't have the breakdown of the comments. You guys need a printer in here so that you can print these things up again. Yeah, right? All right, we are in recess until the rest of the applicant team shows up. So I'm going to go.
I've lost all ambition for worldly acclaim. I just want to be the one you love. And with your admission that you feel the same, I'll have reached the goal I'm dreaming of. Believe me, I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart.
I'm not the guy who cared about love, and I'm not the guy who cared about fortunes and such. I never cared much, but look at me now. And I never knew technique of kissing. I never knew the thrill I could get from your touch. Never knew much, oh, look at me now. I'm a new man, better than Casanova at his best. With a new heart, brand new start. I'm so proud I'm busting my vest. So I'm the guy who turned out a lover. So I'm the guy who laughed at those blue diamond rings. One of those things, oh, look at me now. Oh, look at me now. I'm a new man, better than Casanova at his best. With a new heart, brand new start. I'm so proud I'm busting my vest. So I'm the guy who turned out a lover. Yes, I'm the guy who laughed at those blue diamond rings. One of those things, oh, look at me now. Oh, look at me now. Oh, look at me now.
I love the way you're breaking my heart. Although you're gonna ruin it, it's heaven while you're doing it. I love the way I feel when we kiss. You're terribly, terribly, terribly irresistible. Tonight with me, delight in me. You really know how. It's gonna hurt tomorrow, but it feels so good now. So darling, just keep playing your part. 'Cause I love the way you're breaking my heart. It's terribly, 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 terribly thrilling.
A couple things before you. Yeah, we'll pass those down. These are just vantage points of the Arlington Tower. These are. You can pass one more down.
Towards for me now.
All right, thank you.
Sure. You get to share it with the others. Okay, lovely.
Okay, I will reconvene the Historic Landmarks Commission meeting of July 1st, 2015. Present item on the agenda is item 10, 1220 Chapala Street. This is the second conceptual review. Action can be taken if sufficient information is provided. Project requires Tier 3 stormwater management program compliance. Last time this was reviewed was on June 17th. The motion was continued 2 weeks with comments, not necessary to revisit the engineer plans, provide revised landscape plans, provide a simulation of the view from the south end of exit lane towards the Arlington Tower. The motion was made by Lavoie, it was seconded by Murray. It was a 9-0-0 vote. The motion carried. Please introduce yourselves for the record and give us a brief presentation.
Hi, Mr. Chair. I'm Terry Green. I'm with City Staff in the Public Works Department. And I have Bob Cunningham with Arcadia Studios here with me today to address the comments from the last meeting. I'm just going to quickly speak to what I passed out. I gave you a couple images of vantage points, one from the south end of the sidewalk from the south end of the sidewalk looking north at the Arlington Tower on the east side of the exit lane. And then I also passed out the previously approved plans for the kiosk. We have since reduced the kiosk in size at the request of downtown parking staff, so it went from about 72 square feet to 57 square feet, kind of lessening the building impact in that area. And that was approved administratively, but the design itself will stay the same with the brick veneer on the lower portion of the building, painted Malaga green metal walls, and a copper roof. So you had requested that we provide that for you. And then Mr. Vena also spoke about some concerns with the lighting in the area. And as I mentioned before, we do have a lighting project that is processing separately and has been approved by your commission. I did bring along the photometric study if you want to look at it, but the photometric study that was completed for the lighting plan did not include the light standard that is out on Victoria Street, so that will enhance the photometric study as well as some minimal lighting on the kiosk itself. So I just wanted to address those comments because they were brought up last time and didn't want you to think that we overlooked them. So.
And I'm sorry to interrupt. I did want to congratulate the parking staff for their opening of the bike station at Lot 3. I think that was a very successful design, and I know that you worked hard with us on the design of that, so I appreciate that, and it looks like it's going to be a very, very successful bike station. This is the one that's at the MTD, the parking lot that's next to the MTD, so I'm sure it's going to get very well used. So I wanted to take that opportunity while you were here to thank you for that.
Thank you very much. And with my comments, I'd also like to let Bob proceed with how he's addressed the landscape plan.
Mm-hmm. Presumably you've seen the landscape plan, and the issue here is the trees, the locations of the trees, the species. This is the existing condition with the existing London plane trees. This is what we had proposed, and this is the condition that we're proposing now. We've taken out the tall trees on the north side, east side, left in the Palo Verdes, and we've got two cigar box trees on the west side of the drive aisle. But so the cigar box trees are only available in 15-gallon can size. So we would like to plant those because they're really a great tree. Ultimately, will get to be nice and large. We've got them planted on the Alma del Pueblo Chapala Street frontage. They went in about a year ago from 15-gallon size. They actually are the same, from the same stock, the same generation as the trees that we'll be planting here. So they do grow fairly fast when they're young, and we're confident that they'll do the job. Still open to alternate trees if the commission feels it's appropriate, but we cannot get that tree in anything larger than a 15-gallon.
And then you also reconfigured the paving there?
Yes.
Yeah, it was simply what we felt would be more easily executed by the low bidder rather than trying to make a nice S-curve. So, trying to be practical.
And you are proposing to do new from the back of the new all the way to the face of the
Correct.
building? Okay.
Yes.
Great.
So if I can just add to, we did lose one queen palm on the front parkway as well to open up the vantage point of the Arlington Tower. So we are equivalent in the quantity of trees that are out there that exist versus what's proposed before.
Okay.
When we had the other trees in, we had a couple more trees in the area.
All right, I will open. Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
Okay, I will open public comment. I have two speaker slips. The first one is from John Rowbottom, and the second will be from Callum DeForest. Mr. Rowbottom, if you please come up to the that chair right behind you. If Ms. Green could remove, and we'll give you a Mr. Rowbottom, you have the floor for 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. And Mr. Cunningham. I'm John Rowbottom of 21 West Victoria. I've very much enjoyed the sycamore trees over the years, framing the Arlington Tower for however long they've been there, and I've been there a long time. For whatever reasons, they're being replaced too close to the sidewalk, too delicate, or they don't fit into the concept. They have already been cut back severely, I've noticed, very severely. Tree choices are important. Paper barks is what you showed initially. Can look very heavy from the pictures I saw with erratic growing patterns. The Jerusalem thorn is very good, very Santa Barbara. I'm not a landscape architect, but I do feel that a thin and lacy canopy would allow views through to the Arlington Tower. 2, the promised kiosk from the Vic remodel, I believe, should be part of the project, as it will be torn up already. The original promises should be kept. It sits directly in front of the main entrance to our restaurant building. The plywood kiosk will need paint soon if you don't. So, 3, if a queen palm is planned, and it sounds like he just suggested taking it out, for the east of the exit, how about putting one on the west of the exit, so to frame the amazing view of the Arlington. 4, going down to the parking lot, as it ends at the west sidewalk, there should be a handicap ramp installed there. It's just a curb drop, and there should be a crosswalk there too for pedestrian safety. The trucks inevitably pull up serving the businesses there, the post office, and unload, even though it's a red zone. They're constantly blocking our parking lot, and there's really nowhere else for them to do it. There's no clear path for the pedestrians or anyone else walking on foot. So I feel a bold crosswalk might remediate that problem, and a ramp would help anyone in a wheelchair get off that curb. And I believe better night lighting along this exit and view corridor facing the tower would be a really good addition. I appreciate all of the improvements being considered, but let's tear it up just once, if at all possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rowbottom. Mr. DeForest.
Oh, I agree with Mr. Rowbottom. The kiosk needs to be part of this plan, and I don't see it. I don't see it in the picture, and I don't have a plan. I appreciate that it's smaller, but it really has to be. And I know it isn't what the Arcadia Studios is doing, but it does need to be, its location and its look needs to be reconsidered. I know it was approved years ago, or a number of years ago, but it does need to work. And also, I supported ideas of a handicap ramp. Thank
you, Mr. DeForest. I'll close public comment, bring it back to the commission for questions. Anybody have any questions, commissioners?
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner.
I didn't hear, but what trees did you propose in the
Brazilian cigar box tree, Cedrella facilis. Cedrella facilis, Brazilian cigar box tree.
And it is a deciduous tree.
There are several of them that are over 100 years old on the 0 block West Gutierrez Street. Mm-hmm. Also a few on the 0 block East of Gutierrez.
Oh, those are Cedrellas.
Yeah.
The one next to Casablanca restaurant?
Yeah. And these actually were contract grown for the city. A number of them were. But there are surplus trees at San Marcos Growers. It's the only source for the tree.
Okay, thank you.
Question, Mr. Mahan.
Are we reviewing the kiosk, or is that a done deal?
It's a done deal. Can I address
that?
Okay, so the kiosk was approved back in 2012.
Your mic on?
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay.
And we are still within the approval authorization. Next month, it's due to expire. So because we're going to build these tandem, we'll probably request an extension on that approval. We are allowed to be granted 1 2-year extension from the Planning Division staff. So in order to allow us to maintain that approval, we will be requesting that, but we are still within the parameters of the approval on the kiosk itself.
Mr. Chair, a question to the chair, since you were here for that approval. I wasn't. You approved of red brick in El Pueblo Viejo?
For the base of it? Yes, we did.
That would be the only red brick building in El Pueblo Viejo?
No, there's a red brick building at the Cabrillo Arts Pavilion. Or not Cabrillo, Carrillo.
Carrillo, that's true.
Carrillo Recreation Center.
Oh,
Just so you know, Mr. Lavoie was sitting here during that approval as well.
Julia
Mr. Lavoie
Morgan
was sitting here during that approval as well. I think the pertinent question is that I heard, because the public comments, I'll ask that question, is that the projects, in fact, will be done concurrently together. That was something I heard as a request from the public, so that's good to hear.
Yeah.
So thank you for answering that question.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah,
Mr. Murray.
There was that mention of the,
hot mic.
of the handicap ramp and so. Can you just explain?
Yes. Do we have the old plans that we can present?
Everybody's on board.
Well, it is on our engineering plans, and we weren't required to bring them right now. I'm not sure if they're on the landscape plans, but yes, at the south side. So at the south side of the walkway here, fronting the Arlington Tavern property, we are proposing as a part of this project to install a handicap ramp.
Oh, okay.
Is it showing us?
Yeah. Right here.
There it is. So, yeah, same, kind of same, right there. Or if you want to see it even in more detail, it's here.
Right. Good. Okay.
And then there's, yeah.
Okay, any other questions, commissioners? Anybody? Okay. Comments? Anybody have any comment? Commissioner Schellenberger.
Well, I think the applicant has responded appropriately, and I think the project's ready for approval. I will have a question for staff. It says action can be taken. There's two. I mean, the project description really doesn't include the kiosks. Can we add that to this to extend this duration, or is that just a staff extension?
That would be a staff extension. It's under a separate MST.
However, you can make the comment that the HLC understands that the kiosk is part of this construction project.
Right, that they'll happen concurrently.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would just move to for project design and final approval.
One quick just comment. If the Tier 3 is not satisfied, it can only have project design approval.
Oh. Or the storm.
Is your Tier 3?
No, we're working on that right
Still
now.
working on that? Okay, so we can only give it project design.
Okay, so that's the motion.
Okay. So indefinite continuance, project design approval, waiting for, somebody want to let her in?
Well, so actually, we can't actually give it project design approval
No, we
without
can't,
Tier 3.
without the Tier 3.
But we could continue it.
Oh, we
to-
can't?
You can
Yeah,
you
we
can give it project design.
approval.
Swamp requirements only need to be satisfied by final approvals.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry, I take that back.
Okay.
Okay, fine, so
All right.
PDA.
So the motion is project design approval, awaiting Tier 3 stormwater management plans for final. Indefinite continuance?
Yes.
Yes.
Indefinite?
To consent for final.
Okay, that's the motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Schallenberger, a second by Aaliyah's waiting for you, Bob. Second by Mr. Cunning. Second by Mr. Winnick. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, here you can have that one, sure.
Are they going to bring
we have
forward
many
the new
copies.
paving that we talked about?
This goes back to...
Better, more quality.
Oh, onto the sidewalk? Yeah, that was on that.
Okay.
I didn't get to see that plan entirely.
I looked at the wrong item.
You're going to have to stamp this in.
behind.
Because it's...
We're not.
All we got was this, so I didn't see
Right.
it on there.
Good.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, last item.
Next item on the agenda is item 11. This is 1117 State Street. This is a proposal for a 172 square foot addition to an existing 10,220 square foot three-story commercial building on State Street. The ground level front facade will be remodeled to remove existing windows and install bifold doors. A new 3.5-foot tall wrought iron security gate will be installed at the rear of the parcel. The proposed outdoor dining improvements in the right-of-way and signage will be approved under separate permits. This is conceptual review only. It is comments only. Project requires environmental assessment and public works permits. So please introduce yourselves for the record and give us a brief presentation.
Thank you. I am Dan Weber.
Oh.
Gentlemen. I think they got it.
Okay, continue. Sorry about the delay.
Sure. Dan Weber, I'm an architect, and Jesse Finicum-Schwartz is also an architect, but part of our design team on the project. So this project is called the Impact Hub. The Impact Hub is a global brand that provides dynamic workspaces for entrepreneurs and startups. So you can lease an enclosed office and have your staff spill over into open office. They provide support and training for entrepreneurs and startups. This building is right across the street from the art museum. There's a storefront right on State Street, and it connects through to the parking lot, the city parking lot in the back. There's a small lot behind the building. What we're really here for today primarily is the storefront, which I'll show you a photograph of. And so we've proposed some new outdoor dining in the public right-of-way and a new gate right here in the back parking lot.
That is the project site?
That's correct.
City TV, could you zoom in, please?
I've got a bigger photo here for you.
Is this one that used to be Kim 3?
No.
I think it used to be Z Gallery, and then it was a rug. I can't remember the name of the rug store subsequent. It's been vacant for a while, though.
Anybody else want to see?
So I'll first show you a photo. This is the building. Right now, you enter in this bay on the right into a covered portico, and there's storefront close to the sidewalk on those two. It looks like that. Right now, these are fixed storefronts with a little bit of tile base below, and they're aluminum framed. It's pretty shallow. The stucco.
Use the pointer, that way your finger doesn't obliterate what you're.
There you go. So face of the stucco to the face of the glass is maybe only 6 inches or 9 inches or so. You come into a covered area, and then the front door, conspicuously missing on our plan, is right there. So what we want to do is we want to allow all 3 of these storefronts to operate. We're proposing a small cafe in the front of the space, and we want it to be really lively and relate to the street really well. So, and there's a conference room space which could also be used for events, and we want to be able to open all these storefronts and have the public interact with the space. So we're proposing to move the storefront line back 3 feet from the property line, so we can have doors open out onto without crossing the property line, and just line up the glass line across all 3, which will give a little bit more depth to the facade, which I think will be an improvement. And then we've proposed a small outdoor, little L-shaped rail flanking the main entry on both sides, with room for probably 2 tables in each, and that's just an iron rail. In addition to that, there's a bench right here in the sidewalk, which we want to just recess into the planter. And this planter actually, if you look at a photo, has a big missing spot of plantings right here that needs replanted. So hopefully we'll just move it into that spot and extend the brick. This configuration in layout and in dimensions is nearly identical to 2 situations, which are 1 block further south, one in front of Palazzo and one in front of Chase Bar and Grill, have within a foot of these dimensions. So the main entrance right down the middle, and the 2 operable openings on either side. Right now, we thought about proposing some divisions to the top of the doors, and if you go up and down State Street, probably most have some kind of decoration at the top of the glass, but this is a really low head height. It's only about 9 feet. And we want there to be as much light and view of the inside and outside going on here. So we're not proposing any divisions. The doors, right now, we want to have a wood door with maybe some stain, but a natural finish. So if you can imagine the doors that are in front of the Indigo Hotel, that kind of a look. We're open to your suggestions on that. I'd really like to hear your suggestions, because there's some windows up above which are aluminum frame. They're not the most characteristic windows. So I think this would be a great improvement down here. I'm a little bit concerned about not matching them. I think it'll be great for the inside too, because we have a really spare industrial aesthetic with exposing some of the raw wood framing and concrete. So we're open to suggestions on the finish of the doors and the railing. Next time, when we come back in 2 weeks, we're going to have details on the rail, and we're going to have street furniture for your review and approval as well. But any guidance that you can give us right now would be very much appreciated as we're finalizing those choices for the next meeting. So that's the front signage. We'll go to the sign committee. We have 3 new locations for signage. And then in the back, we have a sliding gate, which again is just going to be a simple iron gate, which slides right behind the trash enclosure. This is an item that the owners are really considering whether or not they want to do, and I think most likely they'll pull it from the plan, but we've got it here today, so any brief comments you have on that, we'll take as well.
Okay. Does that conclude your presentation?
There's one other point I'd like to make. We would like to submit to the building department. We're ready now, and we've been informed that we need to have in the minutes from the Historic Landmarks Commission that it's okay with the commission that we go ahead and submit to the building department while the review is continuing.
At your own risk. Correct. Okay. All right. That concludes your presentation?
It does.
Okay. Ms. Kaufman.
Yes, just a reminder that, once again, everything in the right-of-way requires...
Is not part of this review.
It needs to be reviewed by Public Works.
Right. Okay. And I will open public comment. I have one speaker slip from Mr. Callum DeForest. Mr. DeForest, please.
Thank you. I'm a little unclear exactly where this is. Is it on the Granada side of state or on the other?
No, the other side.
What?
San Marcos building.
It's right next door to the San Marcos building, 1129 State Street.
Oh, adjacent to this.
Yeah, if you look at your overhead, your screen there, this is the end of the San Marcos building.
Got it.
This is the project we're reviewing, and then further down is the, it used to be Long's, it's now, what, CVS or Rite Aid?
Well, whatever.
Whatever it is.
Another
drugstore.
Another drugstore.
Thank you.
All right.
It would be interesting to know, because I don't quite remember what was there historically. Is this a fairly new building that's being remodeled? Is my question, and obviously moving out into the street. Or might restrict pedestrian flow. Thank you.
Just to answer that question real quickly, this was remodeled within the last year by designed by Richard Six, Richard Six from LMA. Okay, now I'll close public comment, bring it to the Commission for questions. Commissioner Schallenberger, you have a question?
Can you clarify for me what is the polygon that makes up this 172 square feet? And what
I
is
can clarify
addition?
that. In the existing condition, this shows it well. You enter into a covered vestibule. This has a.
The pen was okay, but
there we go.
Thank you.
There's a gate here, and you enter into a covered vestibule that's outdoors, and then the entrance into the enclosed space is right along this line. So this is the 172, this square, which we're going to be enclosing, moving the door to here, and it becomes part of the net square footage.
Outdoor space right now?
It is, yeah.
So it's basically this being enclosed now.
It's not air conditioned.
It's street conditioned.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? Going once? Going twice? Comments? Any commissioners have any comments?
I'll jump in. I mean, I think it's a supportable project. It's quite funny because the entrance really was on center before. You know, if you go back less than a year ago, it was with a central entrance. And it was, I think, you know, this is giving a more consistent storefront expression. I don't think we'll ever complain about having wood doors versus having metal doors. So you were asking about that. I guess maybe you're asking the finish question. I'm fine with wood. I'm also fine if they were a dark painted finish. But I think what you're proposing is certainly supportable. The street encroachments that you're proposing, I know it's not part of the project that we're getting to review. I think I would be able to support them too. With maybe a little question about what's going on about losing landscape and putting a bench in place of it. That would be the one question, but it's really not part of our review today. So I think that's pretty much what I would share.
Okay. Any comments, Commissioner Schallenberger?
It's actually back to the question. Are you proposing any changes to the facade itself? In other words, the plaster facade?
No.
No. Here's the reason.
No, we're not. So the face of the plaster and even the returns, all these corners will stay in the same place. We're increasing the depth of the.
The reason I'm asking is
just by inches.
First of all, your renderings are very nice. Nicer than the actual condition, actually.
That's what renderings are. They're visual swindle.
To the right of the drawing, you'll see that the 1117 facade has some capitals or some relief that aren't in the rendering. I was just wondering, are you proposing to get rid of those, or?
No, no, we're not. Okay. The only thing we're proposing there, you can see the address signage.
Right. Yes.
This looks like to me it was designed to have the signage in that location, and so I'm saying, well, let's just move the address signage down there so that doesn't look bare there.
And we're not reviewing the signage or address, but in any case, yeah, I see what you're saying. Commissioner Vena.
Are you adding any lanterns to the facade of the building at all?
We've not proposed any lanterns. The owners are working on the signage design on their own, and they might do a backlit sign. So there's some chance that they might come up with a sign design that wants a light shining on it, but at this time we're not proposing it.
Okay.
Any other questions, commissioners? Going once?
Back to comments.
Going twice? Comments? Or did I already do that?
You did, but it's okay. You started getting questions. So.
That's right. You threw me off. Yeah. Okay. Any comments? Anybody?
It should be an improvement to what's there.
Yeah.
So I guess to answer the question about whether or not we would support your moving ahead with the building department at your own risk, of course, but I mean, I'd be happy to make a motion with favorable comments saying we support the project. Mm-hmm. It's conceptual review comments
the
only.
bench is not part of
No, nothing in the public right of way or the signage is being reviewed or approved. And that should be made clear.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify that because
we have actually a motion on the floor.
I'm sorry.
So let us get a second to that, and then we'll go into discussion. Okay. So I had a motion by Winnick. Did you finish your motion? Okay.
Well, I'll clarify the motion. So the motion is positive comments in support of the project as presented. However, the comments do not pertain to the signage nor the proposed improvements at the public right-of-way, as they're not part of our purview at this time.
Right. Okay. And that's indefinite?
Indefinite continuance, yes.
Probably indefinite. Or 2 weeks.
We'd like to be back in 2 weeks. And,
2-week continuance.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we can take the
I
second.
had a motion by Winnick, a second by Mahan. Under discussion, you had a question.
Yeah, our understanding from reading the permit application materials for the outdoor dining was that they would require Historic Landmarks Commission approval for the railing and furniture.
Correct. Once you get your geometry squared away with Public Works, then you bring the aesthetics to us.
Okay, so
we very rarely pass judgment or make motions or comments on the geometry. That's governed by Public Works. If we have an issue with Public Works geometry, then we take it up with Public Works. But you need to figure out the geometry with Public Works.
Okay, so we need to have an approval from them prior, or
a blessing. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, a favorable comment, and then we'll talk about the street furniture and all that. That will all come in front of us and the railings.
The aesthetics of what is out there will be reviewed by us.
Okay, as an additional and separate application.
That's what you're proposing. Yes. Okay. That's what it says in the description. So that will
great. I was hoping we could wrap those into one
take that up with staff
and approvals process.
Take that up with staff.
I will.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we vote?
No, not yet, because we were under discussion.
Got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? All right. Motion carries. You understand your motion?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are adjourned. You can just.
You can see forever and forevermore. On a clear day, look all around you, and you will see who you are. On a clear day, it will astound you that the glow of your being outshines every star. You feel part of
I don't see her each day, I miss her. Gee, what a thrill each time I kiss her. Believe me, I've got a case on Nancy with a laughing face. She takes the winter and makes it summer, but summer could take some lessons from her. Picture a tomboy in lace, that's Nancy with a laughing face. Have you ever heard mission bells ringing? Well, she'll give you the very same glow. When she speaks, you would think it was singing. Just hear her say hello. I swear to goodness you can't resist her. Sorry for you, she has no sister. No one could ever replace Nancy with a laughing face. Have you ever heard mission bells ringing? Well, she'll give you the very same glow. When she speaks, you would think it was singing. Just hear her say hello. Keep Audrey Hepburn and keep Liz Taylor. Nancy's the feature, they're just the trailer. No angel could replace Nancy with a laughing face.
You're smart, do something foolish just for once. If you're strong, then gently fall apart. If you're cold, be warm and sultry just for once. If you think you'll stop before you start, if you're tempted to kiss a man, then kiss him and feel reckless and giddy with delight. When you don't want to kiss him, just dismiss him. What can you lose? You'll experience an interesting night. If you're smart, do something foolish just for once. Lose your head, you might find your heart. If you're tempted to kiss a man, then kiss him and feel reckless and giddy with delight. When you don't want to kiss him, just dismiss him. What can you lose? You'll experience an interesting night. If you're smart, do something foolish just for once. Lose your head, and you might find your heart. Lose your head, and you might find your heart.
Heaven is when I'm in your arms like this, when you kiss me and quietly whisper, Emily, 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 as the murmuring sound of May. All silver bells, coral shells, carousels, and the laughter of children at play. Say, Emily, 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 and we fade to a marvelous view, to lovers alone and out of sight, seeing images in the firelight, as my eyes visualize a family. They see dreamily Emily too. Say, Emily, 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 and we fade to a marvelous view, to lovers alone and out of sight, seeing images in the firelight, as my eyes visualize a family. They see dreamily, they see Emily, as my eyes visualize a family. They see dreamily Emily too.
They all laughed at Christopher Columbus when he said the world was round. They all laughed when Edison recorded sound. They all laughed at Wilbur and his brother when they said that man could fly. They told Marconi wireless was a phony. It's the same old cry. They laughed at me wanting you. Said I was reaching for the moon, but oh, you came through. Now they'll have to change their tune. They all said we never could be happy. They laughed at us and how. But ho, 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 who's got the last laugh Rockefeller Center, now they're fighting to get in. They all laughed at Whitney and his cotton gin. They all laughed at Fulton and his steamboat, Hershey and his chocolate bar. Ford and his Lizzie kept those laughers busy. That's how people are. They laughed at me wanting you. Said it would be hello, goodbye. But oh, you came through. Now they're eating humble pie. They all said we'd never get together. Darling, let's take a bow. For ho, 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 who's got the last laugh? Hee, hee, hee. Let's at the past laugh. Ha, ha, ha. Who's got the last laugh now?
The sky was blue and high above. The moon was new and so was love. This eager heart of mine was singing, oh, lover, where can you be? You came at last, love had its day. That day is past, you've gone away. This aching heart of mine is singing, oh, lover, come back to me. I remember every little thing you used to do. I'm so lonely. Every road I walk along with you. No wonder I am lonely. The sky is blue, the night is cold. The moon is new, but love is old. And while I'm waiting here, this heart of mine is singing, lover, come back to me. The sky was blue and high above. The moon was new and so was love. This eager heart of mine was singing, oh, lover, where can you be? You came at last, love had its day. That day is past, you've gone away. This aching heart of mine is singing, oh, lover, come back to me. I remember every little thing you used to do. I'm so lonely. Every road I walk along with you. No wonder I am lonely. The sky is blue, the night is cold. The moon is new, but love is old. And while I'm waiting here, this heart of mine is singing, love,
buzzer took a monkey for a ride in the air. The monkey thought that everything was on the square. The buzzer tried to throw the monkey off his back. The monkey grabbed his neck and said, now listen, Jack. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Ain't no use in diving. What's the use of jiving? Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. The buzzer told the monkey, you were choking me. Release your hold and I will set you free. The monkey looked the buzzer right dead in the eye and said, your story's so touching, but it sounds just like a lie. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Straighten up and fly right. Straighten up and stay right. Straighten up and fly right. Cool down, Papa, don't you blow your top. Fly right.
Sunday night at all, 'cause that's the night friends come to call, and Monday through Friday go fast, and another week is past, but Saturday night is the loneliest night in the week. I sing the song that I sang for the memories I usually see, until I hear you at the door, until you're in my arms once more. Saturday night is the loneliest night. Saturday night is the loneliest night in the week. I sing the song that I sang for the memories I usually see, until I hear you at the door, until you're in my arms once more. Saturday night is the loneliest of the week. I dream of the summertime, of Venice and the summertime. I see the cafes, the happy days with you, my love. The
bake shop where we'd stop for a souvenir. The bridge, the boat below, the blue above. I dream all the winter long of mandolins that played our song. The dream is so real, I almost feel your lips on mine. And though I know we have to be an ocean apart, there's Venice and you and summertime deep in my heart. And though I know we have to be an ocean apart, there's Venice and you and summertime deep in my